What's up, everybody? Welcome to Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast. Of course, I got my co-host David, the mad
The mad
scientist.
scientist.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling him. But I am gonna do something a little different. Shout out the people in the comments right now. We got Banna. What's up, Banna? We got Esther. Hey, Esther. We got Benny from Bone Daddy. My nephew Mark Angel. What's up, guys? What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here. I'm excited about this because this guy has his own podcast. It's a really big podcast. His name's Yoshi, and he's from Modern Reptiles. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on out, and let's just start talking.
Hello, it is
What's up,
me.
Yoshi?
What's up? How you guys doing?
Doing good. Go ahead and tell us about yourself, what you work with.
Uh, for sure. My name's Yoshi. I'm one of the owners of Modern Reptile, and I'm one of the hosts of the Reptiles with podcast. Modern Reptile, we try our best to focus on investment grade reptiles, but the market's shifting so much these days, it's hard to even keep up with that. But yeah, we just breed a bunch of reptiles, man. Ball pythons, blue tongue skinks, turtles, tortoises, bredls, pythons, different kinds of geckos. And then for the Reptiles with podcast, we pretty much cover what we call repticulture in like a comedic way. We get a lot of influence from not so much the podcasts in the reptile industry, but more the comedy pop culture podcast, and we kind of bring that influence into this specific industry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there. I'll get there eventually. I'm
Feeling it, man.
I'm trying to get to that comedy level, but I just met David, so we'll see where that goes.
Hell yeah.
But so what reptiles do you work with, or what do you keep?
It's a lot of turtles and tortoises. That's kind of what I started with. I have pretty much like everybody a bunch of ball pythons, as you can see behind me, racks with ball pythons. I have some blue tongue skinks, day geckos, different species of day geckos, crescent geckos, gargoyle geckos, some cyclura iguana, some cyclura rather, Bredl's pythons, diamond pythons, and I think that's it. I don't know what I missed, but it's a lot of stuff.
Banno says it's weird, right, going live, because I guess you do yours pre-recorded. Do you do yours pre-recorded?
Yeah. I do mine pre-recorded.
So Banno's like, how's it feel to go live versus being pre-recorded? And then she says you love your skinks.
I do love my kinky skinkies, dude. Going live, it's a different pressure for sure. With the pre-recorded ones, we kind of, it's going off the fly. We're trying to do our best to be comedic. Some things, I mean, some things don't stay. Some things we have to edit out. There was a segment that I was editing today of a podcast that's coming out next week where 5 minutes got cut out. Just a topic that didn't really hit, that we didn't really get to get the message across the way that it was or something, and those kinds of things go out. In this circumstance, I'm going to do my best.
So I actually want to go a little off topic right now. I want to go like speaking podcasting kind of deal.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I want to know how like you pick your topics. Like, how do you go about picking your topics? How do you get ready for that?
Okay, so Instagram has this great feature now where you can have collaborative folders or collaborative like saved sections with like certain groups or certain like conversations. So we have a podcast group chat, and now every time that between me, Tino, Chuck hasn't used it too much, but Eric does use it. It's mainly me and Tino. And Tino loves to be on Instagram. So whatever he'll find that like might be interesting, whether it's like a new reptile that might be discovered. For me, it's usually like if it's like a new mutation or something funny, or if it's just like a topic that everybody's talking about in the industry, whether it was a video that came out, something controversial, some legislation. We just put everything into that folder, and day of or the day before, I kind of, I create, for lack of a better term, like a set list of topics. And I'm like, okay, these are all the things that we need to cover on today's episode to try to get, we try to be between 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes we get to 30, but our goal is not time. Our goal is good content for what we can do and what we're going to talk about. So with that set list, we kind of just have it there, and as a reference throughout the podcast, I'll be like, all right, what are we talking about next? It's right there. We'll pull up that saved folder, play it there on the podcast, react to it, or if it's not a video, we just talk about it.
So that being said, like if it's a controversial topic, like how do you go about talking about those topics? Because getting whiplash for those and everything. Like how do
Yeah,
you just like ease into it? Like okay, this is controversial.
in the past we haven't. We just kind of we shoot from the heart. We do try to do our job, which is two things. It's transparency, but also to entertain. Mind you, I mean, our podcast is not huge, and it is what it is. But it's important to be transparent. So if we feel like, for example, I mean, you had Chuck on here not too long ago, and he's not pro USARK, let's say, uh, and he comes at it from his point of view, and a lot of the stuff that he says might be valid, but me, I'm opposite to him. So then I come at it from my point of view, and then we bully each other, we make fun of each other, we laugh, but that's the goal. We try to be honest with each other. We turn it up a notch because we are trying to be entertaining. And then we go at it, we talk about it, and we do the thing.
I actually love your podcast, by the way. I just want to say that. I
I
mean,
appreciate
y'all
that.
haven't seen his podcast, y'all should go watch it. It's hilarious.
Thank
Like
you.
they
I
go
appreciate
at it. The one, especially the one with Daniel from US Art, that was great.
that.
I love
That was
that
a
podcast.
big buildup. That was a big buildup. Actually, so US Arc Florida just started their own podcast, and I'm gonna start listening to that probably tomorrow because I was messaging the person that's hosting it, and we might be doing something together also. So
That'd be awesome.
yeah,
That'd be definitely awesome. Like, cause I don't even know what's going on with US Art Florida anymore. I haven't heard much.
yeah, yeah.
Cause I think right now everything's already just under the table or whatever until the next one pops out out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always something going on here in Florida. Right now, there's a lot of energy on this. There's this there's this land. There's this place called Split Oak that they're trying to build a highway through it. So that's kind of like where a lot of like attention's been built as far as like the Florida community, you know. So
Hmm.
I mean, Daniel goes to a lot of those meetings whenever FWC's talking about it, and we've seen him there a couple times. I've only gone once, but Tino's always going. So we always reconvene with them whenever we see him.
Yeah, I saw Tino when he was talking about that reel. It was a reel, right?
Yeah, yeah, dude. Tino has balls of steel to go up there in front of all of those people and the heads of FWC and just tell them how it is to their face. Tino is a man like no other.
I
I'm really
think
proud of him.
I think it just like when somebody messes with your animals, of course you're gonna get pissed. Like I think it just what he
Yeah,
was arguing about was a good it was good. It was a good talk.
yeah, definitely,
Well,
I
I'm
can't
definitely.
definitely
remember
gonna
what
be
it
able to
was
find.
though. Was it the iguanas?
No, no, no. He was talking about Split Oak and the hypocrisy of the people that are running FWC. That a good amount of them are, in the development kind of side of things, and they don't really have much of a background in conservation. So it's like, how can they make these kinds of decisions in the decisions in the position that they're at? So it's like hypocritical. It's not, we're supposed to be conserving this land. There's an
They're
easement.
lacking
It has,
perspective usually.
Hey
yeah.
Yoshi, I got a surprise for you. You ready?
All right, let's do it. Let's go. We
Let's
were
go.
just talking about you.
Yeah, we were talking about your when you got up in the FWC
No,
space.
no,
I
no,
thought it
no.
was about iguanas on
No.
accident.
We were talking about how much we hated him, how short
Oh,
he is, that we don't like
that
the way
too.
he speaks, the whole thing.
I'm the president of that club.
He honestly said, yeah, all of those things he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Honorary
Now,
yeah.
president.
so this is my co-host, mad scientist. This is David Tino.
What's up, dude?
Tino's actually part of his podcast. I actually was like, hey, you want to jump on this podcast with them and like surprise them?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I guess
So,
this is like a double date now.
I support it. It's
right? It's a
2024.
good. It's gonna be a good one. So Tino, you keep animals too?
I do, yeah. I keep mostly snakes.
You keep what kind of snakes?
I keep rat snakes, so mostly old world rats. I've got beauties. I've got bull snake, white lip python, and I've got pied pectinata. That's most of them.
Yeah.
And a
I
hawk.
love those common names, Tino. Those common names,
Yeah, I
tight.
know, right? Well, I keep like 3 species of beauty snake, or 3 subspecies. I've got the Calocyanus, the Grabowski, and the Ridley.
There we
Oh, so you have
go.
colubrids.
Yeah, colubrids, all of them.
Yeah, that's what I got too. I got like hog noses. I got milk snakes. I mean, I don't know their scientific names. I'm just gonna call it a milk snake. But
Hell yeah.
I mean, everybody has like a scientific name. David, I think you were asking a question before I cut you off, brother.
Oh yeah, no, I was just chiming in about those meetings. Like sometimes, like especially with like conservation or even in the perspective of like keeping and stuff like that, like they don't consult people. Like they just kind of like all the politicians just show up to the meetings and expect to know like how things work. But that's why we need people showing up at the meeting and giving them a piece of their mind, because we really need that perspective.
I agree. For the most part, it's mostly just how do I say this? You're literally just telling them like, "Hey, we don't like what you're doing. Stop." Because at the end of the day, they've already made decisions, or they're just going to go with what their staff is recommending. Like, granted, I get it. Like, I'm not going to listen to Go Schmo Karen complaining that there's iguanas in her lawn about anything. Like, sorry, I don't care about your opinion. At the same time, though, it shows the amount of people that are not okay with what's going on. And that's good news coverage. That's good PR. That's good publicity for the issue, so that then the people that actually do matter, it gets to them. So like the CFX meeting that we were just at, I was there with my friends Nick and Eric. Yeah, the CFX, they're the ones that want to build the road through Split Oak Forest. And we're not going to say anything to change their minds. They're not going to be like, oh, you know what? You're right. We shouldn't do the road. The road people shouldn't do the road. But it's to show like on the news, and hopefully if enough people showed up, like Governor DeSantis, like, hey, you know what? You could actually do something about this. Stop it, because these guys aren't going to. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, they've already made the decisions, and we're just there to try our best to get people.
And that's just America at this point, right? They follow where the money is, right? And but no, we do see changes. Like if people do lash out enough, and we got a large enough voice, because at the end of the day, we do vote for those people, like the big people, like politicians, right? Like, and if we do get enough people saying we don't approve this, if you try doing this again, we're not voting for you next time, then
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I was gonna say if I'm not mistaken, the people in FWC, they don't get voted in; they just get appointed to that role, right?
Yeah, it's a little different with that kind of. It depends on which political like organization, but yeah, there's some of them don't have direct voting, but they get appointed by someone that ideally there's some vote somewhere, and then later on that decision gets made. But which is maybe another reason we need to look into changing things, making representation a little bit more direct. I'm all about ranked choice voting. That's a mechanism that we haven't incorporated in our politics yet. But
gotcha.
It is an interesting concept.
Fields. Vanna Fields with the Tino's the man with the voice. Tino is the man with the voice.
Yeah, Banno's was the one that besides Chuck telling me about you, Banno also told me about like to go watch your podcast during that live. I was like, oh, I gotta check it out. And then I told Chuck to send me y'all's live, and I went and checked it out. And I was like, oh man, these guys are awesome. Like these guys are like going at each other and everything. It's hilarious. Not just you, even Tiki's geckos too. David.
Yeah.
That is funny, man. But now David's doing what? Now he's doing big things. He's doing the gecko contest. He has a gecko contest now. I mean, you got the podcast.
As Tino says, the gecko beauty pageant.
I mean,
we gotta give props to Yosh for setting up how this podcast is. I don't know if you guys got into how the podcast kind of started, but Yosh had the podcast for a while with his cousin, and I mean, still awesome stuff. Definitely recommend checking out. But when we started all working together, Chuck, Yosh, and I, we started having conversations. We were kind of like, we should record what we're saying. And so Yosh is really the mastermind to go ahead and be like, yeah. I think we should go ahead and get these guys in front of a camera.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, we so what Tino was saying, I had the original version of the Reptiles with podcast, which is me and my cousin. And we would talk about our own collection within, Modern Reptile, which was just our ball pythons and blue tongue skinks for the most part. And I got really into just in general podcasting, not so much reptile podcasting, but just the way that people were doing it. My background's in music, so I had a lot of the equipment just hanging around. And then, like Tino said, when the three of us, Chuck, Tino, and I, started working together, I credit to Tino because Tino loves asking questions. So he would just ask us questions. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Yoshi. What do you think about this against this? And then the three of us would talk over lunch. And then one day it was just like hey, we should literally would you guys mind just doing this in front of a camera and let's see how it goes? And then that completely turned to what it's into today.
see, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Like Bannon put it right there. I'm trying to find my niche and grow. So I feel like when I bring you guys onto the podcast, I feel like I'm growing with you guys. Like I learn from you guys. You know what I mean? So like I was talking to somebody today too before I got onto this podcast. I was like, I'm hella nervous, and she was like, "You're gonna be fine. You're gonna do all right." And I said, "Yeah, but this podcast is different." I was like, "This podcast is a podcast within a podcast." I'm having somebody who does their own podcast and trying to pick his brain, talk about this and that. And she's like, "You're gonna be fine." I go,
I mean,
she
dude.
goes,
yeah, you'll find your way. It takes time. I mean, dude, I don't even think I have it posted on YouTube anymore, but there is an episode of the podcast, and dude, I was so obsessed with this. There's an episode of the podcast where I invented a card game, and we just played the card game. And it was like a reptile related card game off some cards that Tino had that were like children's reptile cards. And I was like, I created this whole game, like this system, this species has this power, and it was this whole thing. And it was like, I thought it was gold. In hindsight, it was dumb, but it was like you get there little by little, like you just find your way. And we would incorporate like little things like, oh, we just would start spending like 15 minutes watching like reels, like just popular reptile reels, and that turned into it evolved into the kind of the format that we do our topics now. And Tino used to come with a lot of the topics in the beginning, and then we all started like just little by little bringing things in, and it just it's for not to like steal the name always evolving, but it's always evolving. It's what it is today is not what it's going to be tomorrow.
It's an experiment, and you're kind of rotating through these segments, and you kind of add and subtract and try to see what the audience is like.
Mm-hmm. And then it also
sorry, with the pod, like you can have like Snake Talk, which is an awesome podcast, or Herpetological Highlights, awesome podcast, but it is very heady. And a lot of the times, if a lot of people aren't, into the scientific fields, they don't necessarily keep up with the academia. We provide a way to go ahead and just make it a little easier to understand, either one, or two, make it more relevant to what people are really talking about. It's not like a lot of people in the hobby are talking about, brand new crate species or crate behavior or things like that. It's like, yeah, we can go ahead and make it a little bit more universal and try to also add a little bit of humor to it, especially with the controversial topics. I feel like a lot of people skirt away from the controversy, because they don't want the smoke, they don't want to end relationships, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's important. It is important. We're working with live animals, and it's our jobs to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for them. And if nobody's asking questions, then nobody's growing, nobody's evolving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so now not only that, so I had a couple of guests come on, and they were like, there's a lot of breeders out there that are like gatekeeping information. Like, why are you gatekeeping it when you could be sharing that information? A lot of I feel like, well, it's like you said, it's controversial. It's a lot of stuff that they get backlash for. And a lot of people don't really want that anymore. They're trying to stray away from the negativity, the drama. I mean, that's why I started this podcast as well, you know, because there's already a lot of drama going on. I don't know if you guys seen it. Y'all probably caught the myth, like half of that or whatever, but I don't know. Y'all probably seen it around out there, and that's why I'm trying to avoid. But I know eventually I'm going to get that one podcast where it's going to be controversial, you know?
I mean, with a name like Untamed and Unhinged, it better be like what it's selling.
Yeah, exactly.
And I went with Untamed and Unhinged because I was like, you know what? Eventually I'm going to get there, and I'm going to have this controversial podcast, you know, drama, whatever. But I mean, that's why I named the show, because anything can happen, really, because you never know who you're going to bring on.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that personally, it's important to like, I mean, if the goal is controversy, you know, maybe you should think of another goal, you know, because the goal should be good content. And along the way, if that includes some controversy, like you could throw it in there, but like something that we try to make a point into is like the whole thing can't be controversy, you know, because then it's, you know, for the most part, I don't know, am I allowed to curse on here? I don't even know.
Yeah, you can cuss. I mean, there are kids that watch, but I mean,
you're
you know,
untamed here.
I'm untamed and unhinged. No, but like you don't want to you don't want to be an asshole. And there's been many times, and transparently, like we've come off as an asshole, and then we look back. We try to have these conversations with the people that like we might have involved through whatever we were talking about, and like, yo, like my bad, I didn't mean it like that. And we try to, you know, and we've been able to maintain a lot of, you know, friendships and just get to know a lot of people. I think that once people understood what it is that we were doing, then they were like, okay, I get it now. You know, at first it was bumpy, but it's getting there.
I think one thing you do good, Chris, with your podcast is that you just connect a lot of people together. So I can see kind of how the untamed part comes in, because, you know, like you're handling a new snake. Sometimes if you don't know its disposition, you don't know what it's going to do, right? So it's a little bit of an unknown factor. But I like that. I like how you promote those connections and you get a lot of cool hosts and stuff. But I'm curious to see if we could maybe implement some of what Yoshi does too with his podcast. Maybe have like a segment, like a routine segment or something.
Yeah.
I mean, but he has a whole team. He has like 6 people.
But hey, we're working on it, right? I'm telling you about my other comedian friend too. We're thinking of some stuff. We're cooking.
Yeah, I know you're saying that Yoshi has a team. I don't do anything. Yoshi does it all. Yoshi is the mastermind.
Well, then Yoshi's the one-man army. He's the whole. He's like Deadpool. He can just take everybody on.
So
yeah.
Anyways,
so we talked about this. So I told him the whole reason I'm a one-man army is because it's hard for me to trust people, man. Because I'll bring people on and they'll screw me over, or, you know, leave or whatever. So when I was talking to David, it's just hard for me to trust people.
So
I love the people.
That, yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead,
that, I said earlier, my background is in music, and through that time, you know, a lot of the bands that I was in, like I was always the person that I would say did the most. I was the songwriter. I was the one that would book the shows. I was the one in charge of the social media. I was the one booking the tour, you know, for the most part, unless a label was involved. The label's involved, they do most of that. But in that time, like I had that same thing where like I felt like my band members would let me down. And like I would try to give them a little responsibility, they wouldn't do it. You know, and I had that same thing where I had an issue connecting or trusting those kinds of people. And when I met, or once Tino, Chuck, Eric, and I really got our flow, like I felt so comfortable. And till this day, I check in with them and I'm like, hey, are you sure you guys really want to keep doing this? And like they look at me like if I'm dumb. They look at me like if they're like, no, man, like we're good, you're good. And like I to this day I get worried that it's gonna come to an end. And I'm like, damn, like I really like what it is that we're doing. But they always, they're always like, yeah, we're doing it, we're having fun, we have the availability, it's there, and we try our best. So you don't let that, don't hold yourself back from any angle. Just go for it, keep at it, and eventually you'll find the right people that are gonna stick, and you're gonna have fun with it. At the end of the day, this is what it should be fun. Where not only are we just playing with a bunch of animals, but we're also talking about them. It's fun.
Yeah, he's never hold his first snake, so I'm trying to get him over here, but there's always something going on.
Yeah, I was sick a little bit earlier this week, and so I was gonna help him clean his stuff and maybe see a few things, but maybe in the next few weeks for sure. My summer is a bit free, so I'll try to help Chris out with something.
Yeah, it's always good when you get to meet up with your boys and hold each other's snakes and stuff.
Yoshi,
I really
Yoshi.
recommend it.
Well put, Yoshi. Well put.
Yoshi is working with like some really cool stuff too. I feel like Yoshi like holds himself back with the balls, or maybe people just know him for balls. But like Yoshi's working with some cool stuff. Like whenever I have, I just went up with South Carolina with a few people, more than Morelia, Queen City, Hail the Scales. Like a couple people went on a herp trip, and they were talking about Yoshi, and it was like, yeah, this guy puts his bredals outside in Florida year round, and they're breeding. And it's like, yeah, he's already produced babies. They're already like on Morphmark, already sold. He's killing it, absolutely killing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he sounds like you work with a variety of stuff. How many individuals do you have? Do you know, like total right now, Yoshi?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no. Just in ball pythons. Yeah, just in ball pythons, close to 100. Just in blue tongues, close to 50. With turtles and tortoises, well, tortoises is only like 10. Turtles, a lot. I like turtles.
That's a big inventory.
I'm a little obsessive. I'm a little crazy. Yeah.
I was like, do you want to show anything right now?
Yeah, I can. The only thing I'd say, I apologize for the lighting. The lighting in my snake room sucks, but I can definitely grab something.
I don't know, but you see the snake room, David? That's a good snake room.
Yeah, it's organized.
Yeah, mine's is.
He built that room.
Still got a lot.
I did build this room.
Yeah, Yoshi built that room.
Was it because of like the frames? Like you put the frames in and everything?
It was like previously like. What was it? It was like a whole part of the living room, and then you just check it off.
Yeah.
Is he referring to the racks behind Yoshi?
No. I literally like this used to be a living room, and I built a wall. It was huge, and I sectioned it off. Like I actually like built the room.
Now there isn't any like AC or anything like that in there, like any climate control in there, right? It's just the regular room. Right?
I have a fan, and then so when it comes to working with reptiles, and specifically when you're doing it outside, but you have to be smart about where you're placing certain things. So when I decided on this room, I knew that wall was it was what is it, south facing? Whatever it is that the sun hits that wall the majority of the day. So this room gets pretty hot. So originally I didn't want AC in this room. I was just gonna have a fan and then let that wall create a bunch of ambient heat. But then it was just a little bit too hot, and then I extended the AC out, and now there's one vent in here, and it's able to keep this room at the hottest part, probably 82, and then in the at night it'll get maybe 74.
Okay.
When we usually keep the house at like 69 or something. This is a diamond python. This is my friend.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
I had been on Yoshi's ass and like all of our friends for so long. Yeah, pause. To be like, please, somebody get a pair of diamond carpets because those animals are severely slept on. The price is too high. Somebody needs to be working with these animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's asking if you ever breed ball pythons outside, Yoshi.
I've thought about it. I've definitely thought about it, but no, I don't think I will. I'd sooner build them larger indoor enclosures than I would to put them outside. Yeah, I just don't
So
see
what does the
like
outside
personal
stuff look like? Because I haven't seen many outside type stuff.
enclosures.
Yeah.
So, have you seen like a chicken coop?
Yeah.
So think about it. Think about something like that, or a bird cage, but just a little bit bigger. And for the most part, the structure is the same. A different size, like steel, like mesh, and then
Hmm.
it's just like really secure. So that way, because obviously reptiles can pull things,
Yeah.
lizards can. So think about pretty much that. It's just a bunch of cages like that.
And
Another my head.
how do you go about choosing which ones go outside and inside? Is there any particular preference?
It's species dependent. My tortoises are outside because they're too large to be
I get
inside.
that. That makes sense. Tortoises.
Yeah, the same thing with the turtles. I built a bunch of outdoor ponds, dug them into the ground, created
Ooh.
barriers around them, and then they have a laying area they can come outside.
Pictures would be cool.
Yeah.
That sounds really neat. Do
Is there a
you
way?
show them on your podcast?
We don't really. I mean, we usually really don't talk about that kind of like our own stuff for the most part on the podcast. We sprinkle it in, but it's never like big topic stuff. And then yeah, then the blue tongues are I have some blue tongues inside, some blue tongues outside, but I'm trying my best to move all of them out this year. They're gonna be outside.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
just
say,
yeah.
David, if you want, I can like share my screen. I have Instagram already pulled up. I can go ahead and put Yoshi's Instagram right up there. You can see the enclosures.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna have to share it to me though.
Oh, is it you have to enable him first?
Does that work?
I have to add you first, but he's gonna have to share it to me through Instagram so I can just download the pics. Are you trying to like show the pics?
He wants to present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's working.
I have
Is
no
it working
idea.
or what?
No.
I think you have
No,
to send
yeah.
it to him directly.
Yeah.
I gotta
To
share
Chris.
directly.
Yeah, to like screenshot it, take pictures and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, you're just going on my page though, Tino, right? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Let me see what I can do here. Um,
What?
it's difficult because a lot of the stuff is it's like reels.
Yeah.
Well, you can kind of see like a photo there of it's all like glitchy or whatever, but the Brettles enclosure. You know what? There's still sun out. I don't know how good my connection is, but maybe I just take you outside. Would that be a headache?
No,
No,
you can
that would
try it
be
if you want.
Untamed Ass.
Yeah, we're the Untamed Unhinged. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's
I
go.
was like, I mean, I want your house. Like, I was like, you can do whatever you want to do. What's up, Stan? My nephew's asking to see it. Yeah, he wants to see it outside.
Ooh.
Oh, it's nice out there.
Thanks. My grass is a little overgrown, but okay. So these are my turtle enclosures. So I have like a fence that I bought on. It's literally an Amazon fence for chickens, and I use that to close off the turtles from any predators. This is
See,
where I keep.
but y'all have that perfect weather for that.
Yeah,
Here
this
in
is
Texas,
Gecko
it's so
World.
dry.
And then it gets cold out of nowhere too.
Day gecko right there.
It's
Ooh.
gorgeous. It's cute.
Yeah.
It's a baby.
And then it's just different ponds, and that's pretty much the areas for the ponds. So each section will have pond and then a lay area. These are some newer. I don't know if you can see it there. Some newer setups that I did for smaller species of turtles, some striped mud turtles.
And you have a lot of plants in there too?
It's water lettuce. I think it's like actually invasive here in Florida. Everything's fucking invasive here. This is Blue Tongue World. This is what I keep my blue tongues in.
Oh, look, there's a turtle right there.
Yeah, there's a tortoise right here. Hey, living her best life.
Hi.
Yeah, these are some blue tongues right there.
Man.
Grows a little flour. And then what I'll do is I'll chop it up and I'll feed it to an animal. Let's see. And then the Brettles pythons that I keep outside, it's hard to see the animals because right now they're pretty much everything's away. It's an iguana cage. That's another tortoise right there. And that's
It's
pretty
awesome.
much the outside section. Yeah. Let's go back inside.
You build that.
He did build it.
With friends. My friend Tito helped me build the blue tongue enclosure. I actually hired some guy to do those cages. My dad and my cousin helped me with the turtle area. Yeah.
Hey Yoshi, I got a question. Like though, when y'all go live before a podcast, y'all get nervous?
When we go live,
Or
like
y'all,
on Sunday,
well,
you're
y'all
saying?
don't go live. Y'all pre-record. But when y'all do a podcast, like, when you come on this podcast, for instance, were you nervous because it was live?
I think I'm getting more comfortable with it. There's always that instant like, am I gonna bomb? Am I gonna do well? There's always that. But you can kind of tell at the beginning of a podcast, especially live, how it's gonna do because you just feel the vibe. If the vibe is right, you're gonna power through it.
I get that because I do feel the
Yeah.
vibes, and I'm like, yeah, this shit's gonna go quick. It goes right through. Like you're just talking and talking and talking, and then you next know you're like hour and a half in, like damn.
Yeah.
So my nephew has
Sorry.
he has a question for you about tortoise. He said, what would you prefer as like a snack or like a treat or a meal or something for a tortoise, specifically a sulcata tortoise?
For a sulcata tortoise, some cactus. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen some tortoises chomp on some cactus.
Yeah.
I told him cacti, but he don't listen.
Yeah, because they're green and they have a lot of water, so they like that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you, Tino. What'd you say?
I was gonna say the cactus fruit. For prickly pear actual fruit, they'll love that.
Yeah.
She said she didn't know y'all were part-time carpenters.
It's the brown.
He says hibiscus.
Brown in us.
Yeah, we are Hispanic, so. Reptiverse says hibiscus. Look, that guy right there, Reptiverse, that's the other guy on the podcast. That's Eric.
Yeah, I
What's up,
thought
Eric?
so. The way he was commenting, it sounded like he knew you guys.
Yeah.
I actually asked him too to come co-host.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, but he said he was doing something that he wasn't going to be able to.
What did you do? What a liar!
Yeah, he's commenting right here.
No, I think he was just trying to volunteer his friends to do it instead.
Oh wow, dude, that's crazy.
I said, Eric, you want to come on and co-host and surprise Yoshi? It's going to be you, Tino, and Yoshi. And he's like, no, I got something to do. He said, see, look, he says grandma's in town.
Get the fuck out of here. Tino and I know that's a lie.
Invite your grandma on the podcast. We don't mind. We're on Tame Unhinged. You can invite anyone on.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly. Your grandma want to come on?
Yeah, we saw Chris's mom earlier backstage.
Yeah.
My mom just got home and I was like, this is my mom.
Yeah.
It's like she made Chris.
he said, bro. Then he said, dead.
Bro.
No, because I was talking to somebody too, and that same person I was talking to, she was like, well, if you're always nervous before a podcast, that means you're just humble.
Okay.
But I feel like,
I guess.
I told her what makes me humble is like when I bring y'all on podcasts and y'all enjoy the podcast, and then when like at the end I ask you like what'd you think of the podcast so far, and they're always like, yeah, I love it. Like then after that, like once podcast is over, I get to the backstage and they're like, yeah, can I how do I go about sponsoring your podcast, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, good shit. Yeah, man. I mean, you'll do great things. I personally always struggle with like confidence and stuff like that. I suffer from that like imposter syndrome stuff. So there are definitely times where I get like nerve-wracking feelings. I remember there was a Daytona It was either the first or the second Daytona, the National Reptile Breeders Expo that I did, where we had like 20 to like 30 different people that we were going to interview for that weekend for the podcast. And mind you, at that time, I didn't know any of these people personally. It was the first time that I was meeting them. I just knew that they were going to be in the event, and I was like, I'm going to have to like suck in my gut and come out here, confident, and I didn't have it. And I called my wife in the morning, and I was like, I feel like I don't deserve to be here. I feel like I don't that I'm gonna bomb. I don't feel like I have the tools, and that this is not me. This is not for me. And she just reassured me. She's like, no, like you work really hard. You're doing good things, and you're gonna keep doing good things. And little bits of stuff like that, and just getting some positive reinforcement. I mean, I do positive affirmations in the morning, and little things like that, and just repetition, and it becomes like it becomes just part of the gears. It just becomes part of the gears because like now we record. When we first started recording the podcast, it felt like we were doing a podcast. Now it just feels like an extension of us hanging out. A lot of the times that we do the podcast outside, we spend 3-4 hours just like setting up and getting to the area and talking and stuff like that, and then just turning on the cameras and it doesn't even feel like it's there anymore.
So, like, for your cameras, though, like, what do you use? Like, your phone?
iPhone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I asked. I hate iPhone. That's it.
Yeah.
Podcast over. iPhone sucks. No,
Right.
We tried so on a podcast that because Tino has a new job, so there's some Sundays that it's hard for him to record. One of the ones that he didn't get to go to, we actually did record on Chuck's camera, and he has a really nice camera, but the audio came out all messed up. And luckily, I told Chuck, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna record it the audio straight to your camera, but I'm also gonna record it on my phone. So if it doesn't work, we have the video and the audio backed up on my phone." And thank God that I did that, because if not, we would have missed that whole episode.
Damn, that would have sucked.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's some redundancy right there. That's what you need.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Yoshi is the mastermind.
But she's right. That's
Yeah,
Kari.
well, let's
I
read
love
it.
Kari.
It says,
She's-
girly girl snakes. Being nervous will also keep you trying your best and consistently improving. Facts.
See, you know what though? I feel like only smart people get stressed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
the
think
smart
the
people are the
genius-
people that watch anime, though. You know that, right?
I think the
Hey,
less,
Chris, don't be calling us out like that, man.
I think the less you're like, oh, something like if you know less possibilities could happen, hence you're not as smart, you don't worry about as many.
I think part of it might also be just high expectations. But at the end of the day, like Yoshi's saying, like you jump into it, you're doing it, and then, it just becomes having fun. Like this is my second time I'm jumping on Chris's podcast, and when I first thought about it, I was like, oh, it's a podcast. I don't know, like But I did the first one. I'm like, it's super chill. Like it's super fun. Like it's really it's not as big a deal as you think it is.
Yeah.
Um,
I think also too. Jeez. No. I also think
You're my
sometimes,
hero.
when it comes to people, like when you're hanging out with people, like people are just people. They laugh, they use the bathroom, they turn their right turn signal on when they're driving. Like people make mistakes. People are just people. There's no reason to really freak out about it. If anything, the guys in this comments, the guys watching us right now, they're the real nerds, because they're like, oh, I want to hear other people talk about reptiles. And it's like, yeah, that's the kind of people that we want that you're talking to.
David said, "Who is my hero? I am your hero."
That's David. That's David.
Yeah, I know. Question: if I click join the chat, will that take me off of this?
What's up,
No,
Chuck?
That puts you in it. That puts you in it. Oh, yo,
you can join. I think sometimes you have to get.
I don't know. Like,
Okay.
where, how you do that though? Because I know, like, when I can
So
see the
last time I
comments.
tried joining, it didn't
There's the
work, but I
tab-
think you approved me. And
Yeah,
so
there's
then
the
it
tab
worked.
for the private chat and then the tab for the comments.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm on it.
okay.
I'm getting on it. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, now I know.
There you go. Now I'm putting
Sweet,
hellos.
let's go. An extra level.
Nice.
There it is. I did not know
Let's
that.
go.
See, you learn something new every day. But going back to like talking in front of people, it's just being judged by people. That's what people are worried about.
You know
Yeah.
what?
So
I always say this to Yosh. Yosh can say like, "Oh yeah, that's Tino's like catchphrase," and it's like, at the end of the day, does anybody else pay your bills? No.
there you go.
At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're quote on your own. You're doing your own things. There's no space to care about other people's judgment.
Oh.
If we're here on this earth for too short a time period for us to be worried about what other people think of us. It's like, no, you need the time to be yourself.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Facts. Straight facts.
Yeah. Are there any reptile podcasts that you guys like to listen to?
Just mine and yours.
Rock and roll.
I think I need to check out more. Chris has kind of been introducing me to the space, but before I met Chris though, I did watch a lot of like short form content for like animals and stuff.
Uh-huh.
There's I forget the names of some of them, but I see them on my feed sometimes. And then like for general science, I've always been a big fan of like SciShow and like Hank Green and stuff. They do a lot of really cool content too.
Got you. Yeah, I wanted to shout out. So we were talking about it before we went live. There's it says two peens in a podcast. Redwood Reptiles. That's yeah, two peens in a podcast. That shit, like some of the clips have been coming out these days, like on my feed, and it's funny. Let me look at the other one. The Wild Type podcast, fire.
Yep.
Jeremy's podcast, Reptile Talk with Rob, dude,
Yep.
fire. Yeah, those are some that I definitely recommend for you guys.
Oh yeah, from Jeremy Toogan with US Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jeremy. He's actually gonna come on the podcast too.
Sweet.
Oh, awesome. Maybe I'll be the surprise. I'll be the surprise for that one.
Yeah, let me know, bro. You just want to co-host?
It's gonna be in the live,
right?
They'll know. You can't say anything.
You know what I said 3 seconds ago? I lied.
Redacted. It's redacted. It's not happening.
Yeah, it was alleged.
I like the Flipping Tin podcast. Jake and Skylar, they do some great stuff. They talk about their herp trips, and what I love about their podcast is they go ahead and they get a lot of people to like write in and talk about their herp adventures. They'll send them photos.
So Tino, for the listeners that don't know what a herp trip is, could you describe it?
Yeah. So basically, the things that we have in bins and tanks also live outside. So you go outside and find them.
Okay. And for those who don't know, herp stands for herpetology, by the way.
Yeah. And so
oh man, that was funny.
More like people who are into captive husbandry should go out and look at these animals like in the wild. Like it's crazy to go ahead and have a corn snake, but then to also be outside and find a corn snake is another level. It's like, wow, yeah. And then you also get an appreciation for like, hey, you know what? Like the natural areas around me, the lands undeveloped around me is important. Like otherwise the only time that I can see this corn snake is in my own house. At that point it's just going to be indoors. And so you want to be outside to go ahead and see them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that.
Well, yeah, it's it becomes an artifact of us at that point, right? Like the animals become an extension of us instead of us admiring them through nature, right? Because it all is the source is from nature, and then if we don't do our conservation and things like that, then yeah, we will be left with just having animals in captivity, which is kind of very dismal and dystopian,
It does suck, yeah. Speaking of animals in captivity and podcasts, I guess wrap it around full circle. Yosh, did you have you ever checked out? I don't know if you ever have, but the US Arc Florida podcast.
So at the beginning of the pod, I was telling them that the person that's hosting it sent me a message, and they want to talk to us about the KFC stuff. Yeah, so we got to link up with them. Yeah. So KFC, so we have this acronym KFC, right? You might think that it's
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It's not. So it's one day that we were recording a podcast, and it was around the time where I think it was the Iguana and Tegu band or something, or it was one of those bands, And Tino kept talking about FWC. He kept FWC, 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 and then all of a sudden that FWC just naturally turned into KFC. Like, and it was like not even that he was trying to be like make a joke. He just kept saying KFC instead of FWC. So we have this thing KFC that we have dubbed Keepers for Conservation. So we're trying to work on some projects for this thing that we're calling KFC or Keepers for Conservation. Whether it is like a documentary that we haven't gotten back to work on because our lives got a little bit complicated, but we're trying to work on a documentary for Split Oak, and then whatever else that we figure out how to do to spread the word of conservation through being exotic animal keepers.
Because we've talked before about I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the invisible ark concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like basically like, oh, we're keeping the animals in captivity, so if anything ever does happen to them in the wild, we have an assurance colony, so to say. Big problem is that in captivity, there's no lineages kept, there's no bloodlines being preserved. It is a lot of inbreeding, a lot of morph breeding, a lot of breeding of animals that shouldn't be bred, a lot of hybridizing. All this stuff, makes it so that you cannot put these animals back outside. Like these animals aren't even healthy. These animals aren't going to survive out there. We can't do it.
The genetic upkeep is a whole different thing, because in nature we have Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. We have large numbers. We have, the gene pool is maintained, versus like you're saying in captivity, small numbers, humans are involved in the process. So large amounts of diversity are lost over time. So
exactly, yeah. So like this invisible ark concept is fallacious. It's not real. It can't happen. And so how do we go ahead and justify? Because when you think about it, really about keeping animals in tanks, like it kind of sucks. It's kind of like, man, if we could do the best that we can, we should always be striving for better. But at the end of the day, we'll never replicate the wild. We'll never be able to give them the perfect conditions. And so there's got to be a way to offset kind of a lot of the bad things that happen, like let's say wild caughts, or let's say sick animals, improper care, all that other stuff that comes with keeping animals in captivity, and go ahead and make it a positive thing. Be like, hey, you know what? Let's actually give them a conservation outlet where maybe they can go ahead and facilitate donations to conservation organizations, local environmental protection agencies, all those different kinds of things, to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're breeding corn snake morphs, we're breeding ball python morphs, but such and such percentage of our profits are going back into our local wildlife agencies. They're going back into actual conservation efforts, because at the end of the day, captive bred or a private industry species survival programs, quote, it's almost not going to happen unless it's like a severely endangered animal and the only ones left are in captivity.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other people like trying to do that as well, though. I feel it's going to get to that point, though.
Yeah, and the thing is like a lot of species are heading to that point. Abronia Alliance does a lot of stuff like that, where they go ahead and they keep stud books of the animals that they're having, just because, hey, these animals are rare, we should protect them. I know the Rainforest Alliance does things with dart frogs. I love what they do with dart frogs, because what they do is they'll go ahead and they're in the Amazon. They'll take rare species, protected species of dart frogs, and it's true. I got
Goddamn.
I'm also Mexican. I can't.
I say that as a man that is shorter than Tino.
Yes.
Just saying.
But what they do
like,
is they'll take rare species of dart frogs, they'll breed them in captivity, and then sell them to big dart frog breeders in Canada, the United States, and Europe to offset poaching costs. They're like, hey, let's go ahead and sell these animals, intentionally breed them for the pet trade, so that then there's less incentive to poach them, because, oh, there's a whole bunch of them in captivity. There's no reason to go ahead and try to grab somebody from the wild, especially once the price starts to cut down lower and lower. So yeah, you're right. There is some people working with like that kind of an aim or a goal to kind of offset a lot of the bad with good.
I think it's going to be amazing, though. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's what we need, honestly. And you guys, if y'all guys did that, let me know, man. That's awesome. Like,
I've said this before too. I really like with just recently in Florida, we just had the terrapin ban, quote ban, where you're no longer allowed to keep them, you're no longer allowed to collect them. no longer allowed to breed them. You're set. Like there's a limited amount that you can have. And I was like, Yoshi, you're a turtle breeder. You've bred diamondback terrapins before. Tell me not that you would go ahead and reserve one pond in your backyard just to terrapin breeding. You can't make any profit off of it. You're only breeding terrapins to put back into the wild or to go ahead and use those profits to go ahead and help them. And Yoshi said,
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I think
Do
most
it.
captive breeders would do that.
I say do it and like make like little stuffed animals to give to the kids. Like
You can't.
know,
You can't do it. You can't do it.
Why?
It sucks. Because they banned the you can't have
oh,
diamondback
you still can't do it if you, even if you like already had them.
Oh well, if
Yeah,
you
I saw that too.
yeah.
Like it is
So that's the
illegal to
thing.
own a diamondback
Yeah, so
terrapin.
if you had them, you can get grandfathered in. But the thing is that the law always was, at least in modern reptile keeping, before this ban, the law was you can only have two per, like, let's say, like license holder. You know, if you have your class 3 license here in Florida,
And
so
so if
you
you
can
breed
have
one, do
two.
you have to give it away or something?
No, if you breed them, you have to destroy the eggs because technically you would have more than those two. That's how they treat that.
That's sad.
The only reason that I know that is because I bred them and I was getting a lot of eggs and I was nervous. So I called the FWC and I was like, what am I supposed to do? And they were like, destroy the eggs. So anything that I would find would get destroyed.
Like
But how did they
That's sad.
sustain
How would you do that though?
in
Yeah, that's
captivity?
a
Would it
protected
just
endangered species, and they're like, "Yep, kill them. We don't want you
Yeah.
having them."
I really hate your FWC.
Yeah, they're not great.
so,
I'm like, I
so,
really hate. That's so
you couldn't
sad.
even you couldn't even like donate the eggs to like the like conservative?
No,
Like,
No.
they're legal. They're
Yeah.
illegal.
oh.
Yeah, and to be fair, technically it was a they weren't the Florida native diamondback terrapin. You can't have those. They weren't from here, you know. So maybe those animals shouldn't have even gone in the wild here, anyways. But with what Tino's saying, like maybe let's say some that get rehabbed that can't get put back into the wild, but they could potentially breed and provide other avenues for other things. It's things like it's situations like that that certain programs and some breeders should be put in play where they're like, hey, like you can help us. You know, it's like what
Yeah.
better person to do that kind of work than the people that know how to do it.
Yep.
Instead, let's hire a whole bunch of developers and let's see if we're gonna destroy this fucking easement and split up. Let's
For real.
go.
It's like, all right, so we're gonna say no, we're not gonna do anything private captive breeding with terrapins to help them for conservation. But that road, that sounds great. Let's do that.
Man, I don't know how. I don't even know how you do it, Yoshi. Like crush or what, however you do that, but I don't know how you. I couldn't do it.
Crazy stuff.
I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. Take me to jail.
For real.
I would have survived. I'm a little guy. I got long hair.
Okay, so
I
I was
do well.
just for the facts I was looking up. Says Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission staff recommendation that current rules prohibiting commercial terrapin breeding remain unchanged. Overturning the long-standing rule would ramp up risks to native wild terrapins through collection pressure, increased demand, and the potential to contribute to illegal turtle trade. So they say just ban it outright. It doesn't have any conservation value. So it has more negative consequences than positive. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why they just did it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
guess it
you're
is what
telling
it
me
is.
FWC is still trash? I didn't see
No,
any
what-
positive out of that, David.
They clearly know best.
Yeah, that's what the experts are saying. They saying if they did have the commercial breeding and they did let people do it, it would be put more pressure on the wildlife than the benefits.
Hold on, David.
And you know
I want
what?
to sit.
And see, that's the thing. There isn't enough data out there. There aren't enough organizations taking protected species.
Well, I think they need references. I think they need to show like economic analysis and be like, hey, like that's really like what would happen, you know?
But, I mean, one of the big things is like the indigo snake. Indigo snake is a prime example of why they're scared. You know, like they were poached to heck, and now with land development pressure on top of the poaching, they're a protected species now. You can't have them. You can only keep them with interstate commerce permits because you got to get them out of state. So it's like yes, they don't have maybe all the data and they're going ahead and making assumptions based on the past. At the same time, it is our fault that that's happening. It is not our fault, respectively. I didn't poke anything, but it is the captive
You
pet.
did it, Tino.
You do all right.
It was the captive pet industry's responsibilities and their fault. And it's like, man, in order to get back into good graces and try to like do something, more people need to just step up.
Hold on, I want to take a timeout real quick. Timeout. Because I don't think David understands who FWC is and what they do. Or how they take everything. They take everything from the people. You just read about that, and I thought you were gonna pull something positive out of all of that, and it was not positive. It's still negative, bro.
I was just emphasizing what they're saying about the terrapin thing, because I was asking whether like with the reasoning, like why they do that. Well, that's the official statement. That's what we get as the public.
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
crazy.
they're saying. So I can't make a twist on it. It's FWC. That's what they're saying.
You're like, that's what they say, but
but hey, I think maybe like if we get enough people together, we could do like a nonprofit or like some scientific initiative or something like that, and then maybe get the numbers high enough to where it could manage into something. But right now, I think they're hounding on the commercial aspect, and they're scared and they want to take the conservative route, which is just make it whole always illegal, right? So
well, that's the whole keepers for conservation thing, isn't it, huh, Tino?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, too, if let's say the Daytona Reptile Expo, if all of a sudden Wayne Hill is like, hey, in order to vend here, you have to submit proof of a donation to the Orion Center, or if in order to vend here, you guys have to donate 10% of profits to
that's crazy.
FWC, whatever it may be.
Wait, hold up. They really do that there?
No.
He's I was like, what?
No, he's saying like
hypothetical.
Hypothetically, if they did do something like that, then it would be a stronger case that the captive pet industry is beneficial. Like there is benefit to there is a conservative value to it. These
Tino.
people, they're not actually physically doing anything with the animals. However,
but I feel like
they're generating a lot of income to go back into the wild.
Tino, what was the organization that we spoke about on the podcast that that they're pretty much protected because they donate to conservation? Was that a hunting thing?
The FWC gets a lot of their funds from hunting licenses and fishing licenses, and that money is then put into FWC research, FWC, the officers that go ahead and protect the wildlife area.
What was that?
Like all that stuff goes back into it, and it's because the hunters are paying for it, the people that are actively going out and shooting and killing animals. So it's like, however you feel about hunting and fishing, regardless, that's what it is. But because of the money that they pay in order to do that, FWC can then have fund conservation efforts. So if in retrospect, if the captive pet industry does something similar, or we're like, hey, we're going ahead and putting this much money back into the ecosystem, back into protecting our waterways and our land, are we really that bad?
No, y'all are awesome.
That's the only thing. That would be it.
I'm just like, man, but they have like conservative groups for octopus and stuff like that. I just follow a little page. I was trying to bring on an octopus group, and they have one. I think it's a blue ring octopus they're trying to protect.
Yeah, sure.
Or something, but it's also they're non-funded. They do make little stuff plushies, like I said, but I think they do the same thing where they give back to their FWC. So, I mean, have y'all tried talking to them about that, or they just won't listen?
Tino's the man with that shit. So
the commissioner.
Tino goes over there, tells them that they suck and that they have no point in having a job. He even told them, don't quote me, it's alleged, you can find the tape, but he was like, you guys should be homeless. He said it. I didn't say it, he did.
I have to agree with Tio though.
Someone
Tino.
should talk to them. That person is not me. I'm not very how does it tactful.
So at least that's my problem. The problem is that we can't trust FWC to use money wisely.
That's another.
Yeah.
And then he said, or at least that's my problem.
Yeah.
It is true.
See, I think that's why maybe the donation matching approach might not be the best, but possibly setting up your own organization separate from that. So like being like, oh, we're going to raise X thousands of dollars, right, to have this kind of cause, and then maybe have some form of compliance, like scientifically or something like that. And then it's like, well, let us be able to have like 100 or 500 terrapins or whatever, And
so one of the things that we discussed was that another conservation group isn't necessarily going to do anything because one, we don't want to take money from other conservation groups. Like, oh, go ahead and donate to them. They're the ones physically actually doing stuff. Like the Orient Center, breeding indigo snakes to put back. Like the donations should be going to them. Please give that money to them. And so KFC wouldn't be like a place to raise money. It's more of a place to go ahead and be like, hey, we're gonna funnel the money. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna funnel it towards the Orient Society. We're gonna funnel it towards the Ashland Biological Preserve, the Rattlesnake Conservancy.
Yeah. And I wouldn't necessarily say start up a whole organization in itself, but maybe like an initiative, maybe like a subset, like a subgroup within their bigger organization. But then hold it to having that specific initiative, that specific agenda. So it's like we're very particular on the terrapin conservation, right?
Yeah.
So maybe something
honestly,
like
that is
feasible.
That is pretty much like the goal with Keepers for Conservation, long term. The thing is that it's hard because obviously we want to try to do our best and we want to try to do good, but it's like we got jobs, we gotta pay bills and all this stuff.
The common man, that's the dilemma.
Yeah.
What's up, Leviathan Snakes? I don't know who's watching. Steve or his wife. I'm not sure who it is, so that's why I say Leviathan. Both. Hello.
Yeah. You're right.
But okay, so I was reading this question here. It says, I think there isn't enough activities within the reptile community that requires permit fees from FWC, which doesn't help show numbers to compete with hunting. Well, like what about permits for Burmans? Like they could bring that back too, because I know y'all can't have them, right? Y'all can't have those. Y'all can't have retics. But if they got permits to handle them, and for the people that have permits, but
if you think about it like this too, like
and hots, y'all got hots, right?
Yeah, those are gone. You need permits for those. With YOSHI, it's like or whoever has a permit, a class 3 permit, you're spending $50 yearly, to maintain that permit.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you are going ahead and taking some of the profits from the animals that you're selling and putting it back in, that's going to be way more than $50. If you know what you're doing, if you're a good company, maybe not YOSHI, but
I'm the worst company.
No, but yeah, can you imagine like I always say the Daytona Reptile Expo because I've actually been to it, and I'm like, man, if like $5 or even $1 from every single person's tickets to get in here went to the Orient Center or went to any other conservation organization, that's a huge donation for those people. For people that are working completely nonprofit and they are just like, hey, whatever money comes in, we're gonna take. That's the thing. It's the same thing if like Morph Market. If Morph Market goes ahead and does the same thing, if they're like, hey, we're not gonna cut into anybody's profit margins, but if we have a donation button, or if we go ahead and say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and in order to go ahead and keep selling here, we're gonna need a donation made to such and such organization, wherever your local organizations, whatever. I mean,
or round up your donation.
Exactly, that's a lot of money going to the people that need it, and especially if we love so much, not just in captivity but out in the wild, then we should be showing it. This invisible arc concept isn't enough.
I agree with Tino.
Yeah, I think we all got. I think there's there's a bunch of little ideas throughout this industry that's like sprinkled, and it's all very good. It's just we gotta put it together. We gotta sprinkle it all together and make like a Sunday. We just gotta make the thing happen. I know there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work, and it's not the shit on them. It's just things are getting crazier with legislation, and I haven't been in this industry my whole life. It's something that I started doing in my adult life or my young adult life. Um, and in that short amount of time, the things that have changed, it's crazy.
So what if like
you're one of the good guys?
I try.
So, yeah, you're awesome, bro. You're awesome.
Thank you.
But what if y'all like did do a live podcast and then raise donations that way?
So I mean, it's all possible. Right now we have a membership program going on in our YouTube. We are trying to raise some money to try to get a little bit of, I guess you would say, like stability within the channel. Not that we're trying to make a living off the thing, but it's like we're trying to get a little bit of stability in the channel because obviously we spent a lot of money on microphones,
Cameras.
cables, things to move. We bought a generator to be able to record podcasts outside, stuff like that. It's just we're trying to get a little bit of things circulating, and all of that is definitely possible. It's like it's part of a little bit of a long process. Right now, we're still, even though like we've been doing this for 3 years or so, like it still feels brand new. It still feels like it's in its infancy. It still feels like we have much more room to grow because in the end of the day, I feel like we have I would say a decent not notoriety, but a decent like recognition within the community where like certain people know about us or certain people tune in, and we know it because we hear the backlash of it. But I feel like we haven't really hit the mainstream within the reptile industry, and I think that a lot of that is due to because we're not like species specific, because we're loud and obnoxious, and it's not what the usual listener is like listening to within this community. But once we really hit that stride within the general industry, I feel like we'll be able to put a lot of the things that we're trying to do to the forefront. Because it's hard to I would say it's hard for a channel at our size to start preaching about trying to make donations because it might come off wrong, and I'd hate for it to come off wrong. um you know Tino does a lot of work for conservation here in Florida, and it's like I feel like for that kind of stuff at this time, our best efforts are put into those kinds of things, attending certain meetings, doing things a little bit behind the scenes, and talking about what we're doing. And then once we get to the area where we really feel comfortable to do those kinds of things, it's definitely possible.
Man, I just want to say real quick, whoever's watching this podcast, try to get them to go live stream. Like seriously, these guys are awesome. These guys are amazing. Tino, if you haven't watched our podcast, go and watch our podcast. Subscribe, like, smash that button, do whatever you need to do. Get that podcast out there. They're great, man.
Yeah, we've been doing like live streams after we've been trying to keep up with it. It's a little difficult because of our work schedules, but after we record on Sundays, we do our best to go live at least for 30 minutes and do like a Q&A for whoever's tuning in, and then those disappear from the channel unless you're a member, and then I leave it up for members only. So the lives are definitely there. I'm not gonna lie to you, I get pretty crazy with it. There are days where I'm like, I'm just gonna stream every day and I'm gonna go for it. And we gotta do, in my head, I'm like, we gotta do more podcasts. But then I'm like, it's difficult already as is, and I'd hate to put a lot of pressure on what I think is a good thing that we have.
Yeah, I think to build off of that, we focus more on trying to get other people to make those donations rather than giving us the money. It's like, plus at the same time, like you really should be donating your money to your local organizations because, like, yeah, like the big organizations, they're always going to get money. They're always going to get money from across the world, wherever. But your local organizations, the ones protecting, your backyards, those are the ones really putting in a lot of work, and they're not getting a lot of money for doing it. So, in terms of like I know money's tight for a lot of people, and I know it's not necessarily like donations is the best thing ever. You do get a tax break out of it though, so I mean, winning. But when you go ahead and say, hey, no matter what I make in profits this year, I'm going to donate 1 to 3% to my local conservation organization of my choice. You know, I am a member of the World Wildlife Fund, which basically just means that every year I pay the minimum to maintain a membership. But you know, given time, given a lot, like let's say I don't even know how much it is, but let's say it's $30. I spend $30 for a whole year being a member of the World Wildlife Fund, and over 10 years, I've donated $300 to the World Wildlife Fund. You know, and that's not.
So it's kind of the same thing, like US Art though, $40 a month.
With
I mean, $40 per year. Sorry.
Right. A lot of the captive people are donating to US Art. You know, it would just be one extra thing, and that would actually be going to conservation. It's like, hey, yeah, it makes sense to go ahead and protect the organization that's protecting your rights to keep these reptiles so that you can keep making money. But then if you're making the money, you know, and you're doing pretty okay with yourself, you know, you're not in any financial crisis, your family's okay, go ahead and give a little surplus to the animals outside, you know, the animals that are out there.
I'll have to also say, Tino, for the people that are capable and, you know, have a bit of spare time, it's not even just about monetary. Sometimes some of those organizations are looking for volunteers too. I know that's sometimes a thing you can try to do as well.
Yeah, a lot of the reptile people want to go ahead and make reptile like the whole thing. Go ahead and make it like their full-time job, quote quote. Not that maybe a lot of breeders have a lot of spare time, but if you've got any spare time, you know, a day off, go ahead and volunteer. You know, go ahead and put on a t-shirt, get yourself dirty, go outside and help build an enclosure or help clean up a beach. You know, anything.
Yeah, the reptile. Yeah, the reptile world goes beyond the hobby and the industry. Like the broader community is as much as important as the stuff that we might be doing in our own rooms. The stuff that's outside is very important too.
Yeah, especially when you consider that some of the most endangered animal groups on the planet are herps, is insane. You know, amphibians are at serious risk for extinction, and turtles are right behind them. You know, if anything, turtles are probably in front of them. I think turtles are the most endangered group of animals on the planet. So it's like, like if the captive pet industry goes ahead and says, "Hey, we're gonna go ahead and put our share into conserving turtles," whew, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money going to turtles.
I'm gonna Google right now Ohio conservation. So Banfield said I wouldn't even know where to look to volunteer in Ohio. Let's see what we find. Ohio Conservation Federation, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Nature Conservancy of in Ohio. There's definitely places, you know, and you know, maybe it's little things. Like, I mean, Tino has not only done stuff for the Orient Center. Tino goes out and surveys some stuff. I don't know. I always say some stuff because I don't really know what I'm supposed to talk about. And even things as little as going and do a trash pickup at the beach, like things like that. I mean, again,
my job. Sorry to cut you off. My job organized a beach cleanup, and we just went and we just got trash bags. We cleaned up a beach, and we worked with the Sea Turtle Alliance. I forget what it's called, but we partnered with them in order to clean up the stuff. So in the same way, if you want to go ahead, if you have like friends at work or whatever, and you want to say, hey, I want to go ahead and organize a beach cleanup, whoever wants to show up can show up, and we're just going to clean this beach. That takes enough. I know there's no beaches in Ohio, but
Tino, just real quick to follow up on what you're saying. So yeah, amphibians are definitely up there. And then kind of the top three are amphibians, mollusks, and fish.
Scared of fire.
There you go.
At least in terms of the number of species that are on the red list, like
the IUCN red. Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
It's rough. Yeah, it's rough, and I think the pet trade, the captive industry, has to start doing its part more and more.
But I also heard like if there are people breeding in your city, just ask them or own a pet shop because there are some that own pet shops. Just ask them if you could volunteer there, get for free. Gain some knowledge, working with, getting to know these animals, these reptiles, so you can see, our passion, why we're passionate about these animals. You know,
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
sure.
you just volunteer there in the shop, you gain some knowledge
Even
that way.
even just so much as attending your local charters. Yosh and I and Tyler, he was in the chat earlier. We went to which one did we went to our county commissioner meeting. And they were addressing the issue with split oak. And honestly, someone's just showing up. You don't even have to really talk. Just showing up and showing your support, taking pictures and posting it to your Instagram stories, to your Facebook, to YouTube, whatever. Getting the word out there does do a lot. You know, you might not be able to donate a lot of money to make a difference, but at the very least, you can share a post and at least 10 people will see it, and then their 10 people will see it, and then boom, now you have 100 people seeing stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I mostly have Tino standing up and saying something. Nah.
Stay
But
up.
if you need muscle, that's me.
I stick to the trees.
You hear me, Tino? I say, if you need muscle, that's me.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not much to talk in front of a bunch of people because I probably get hella nervous, especially in front of.
Just I don't want to see you in one of your muscle shirts up on one of those meetings. Okay, that's a bit too much.
Why?
I don't do that standing up stuff in front of those meetings. I get way too nervous. I'm gonna trip over my words. I'm gonna start trying to do a stand-up routine and try to make people laugh by mistake. Like I can't do that. I can't do it.
Hey, David, but that's why I put the muscle shirt on. They get intimidated. Like,
they're gonna be like, this ain't no gym, you know. Next person.
If anyone
whatever
has trouble figuring out oh, who do I donate to? You know, what organizations can I trust? Really, the Orient Center is a good one if you're in the Southeast. The Turtle Survival Alliance is a great one. It's for the entire United States and overseas. World Wildlife Fund is a huge one. It works usually with megafauna, not particularly reptiles specifically, but still a very good one. But yeah, I would say TSA, Orient Center, good stuff.
I was gonna say something and I went blank just now. Damn
it. You're good, bro.
No, it was important. It was important.
If it was
Damn, I can't remember what it was. No, I always forget shit's important. I do. That's why I have to set an alarm in my phone because I'll be like, oh, yeah, I got to do that.
Yeah. I've considered, like whenever we record the podcast, I've considered keeping a notepad because there are many times where like Tino and Chuck are arguing, and I'll be like, oh look, he's got one. I just gotta write down this thought.
I got sticky notes if I need something.
There you go.
Like it doesn't matter though, like because sometimes I just run off you guys. Like whatever y'all guys are feeding, I feed off of that.
I feel you. I mean, I feel like we've been pretty. You know, we've kept a good flow for sure.
Like trying to be genuine. I'm not trying to be like like questions I have would have been just textbook questions like.
Let's ask them. Let's do them. Let's answer them. Let's go through it. Let's go.
Yeah. What color are Yoshi's? Never mind.
I want to say purple, but I'm not sure.
What color are Yoshi's eggs?
I got questions like what separates you from everyone else? You know, like what do you do?
Easy. My height. I'm usually the shortest person at the shortest adult at these reptile expos. I look like a leprechaun, but I am super Hispanic. That's what separates me.
So okay, Yoshi, do you remember your first expo?
I remember. Yeah, it was. I believe it was in Miami, and I actually bought a Diamondback there.
He knows. He knows.
No, eyes are green, Eric.
I was like, how they bleed? What about you, Tino? What separates you from everyone else?
About 10 inches.
His height. No, bro. What do you mean?
I'm height. Wait a minute.
You should have clarified. Hey, Genetic X is Cuban. I am also Cuban, buddy. Cuban Nicaraguan. What's up?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
I would say what separates me from everybody else? No one. Nothing. No, I'm kidding. That's a hard question.
Can I answer that for Tino?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Tino.
That's cheating, but go ahead. I'm joking.
Tino is one of the most thoughtful people that I know. Like he's the kind of guy that will get you something that you didn't know you needed in under no occasion. Like he'll be like, "I got this for you," and that's his character. And then as far as like within the industry, it's like he is so educated. He's very strong on his opinions, and he's not afraid of speaking his piece to no matter who it is. There was this. Okay, check this out. Check this out. We went to Animal Con. We went to Animal Con last year. Okay.
Oh my God.
This is so funny. This is literally Tino's character. Okay, we went to Animal Con last year. Okay, I got invited as an influencer. I was allowed to bring a guest. I bring Tino with me. Okay, I have a couple of panels that I need to do. Stop flirting in the chat is hilarious. Sorry. So I have a couple panels that I need to do, and in between those panels, Tino and I are sitting in for some other panels, and we go to a couple like invertebrate panels, and Tino's listening to these people answer the questions, and the speakers were very educated. But Tino's like, man, I got answers for this. Man, I think I could come up with something better. He's like, and jokingly, I thought he goes, I'm gonna get in on one of those panels. And I was like, haha, Tino, you're so funny. So I am watching. I'm in another room. Tino disappears from me. I'm in another room. I'm like either about to do a panel. I just finished a panel, or I'm beginning to watch a panel with David from Tiki's Geckos, and we're just sitting next to each other. And I get a text on my phone, and it's Tino. I open it up, and he goes, "I'm in the panel." And I'm like, "What do you mean? You're lying." He's like, "No, I'm about to speak right now. It's gonna start." So I look at David, and I'm like, "I gotta go." I stand up, I go into the room, and this man is on a panel, on the fucking stage in front of everybody, and I'm like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get in so much trouble. Like he's not supposed to be up there." And nobody said anything. It went fine, and he killed it. He did very good. It was
He
so
walked
great.
in.
So great.
He walked in too, like ghostly white. He walked in as I was saying. I'm gonna say a lot of things that is probably gonna accept a lot of the people here.
Yeah, he literally was like, "I'm about to roast everybody," and he did exactly that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's what we need, though. Like people to speak truth.
So Tino is
Yeah.
him. Tino is definitely him.
I just have no
Right.
shame. That's what it is. I have no self-respect. I'm just.
I like how he's like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get up there. He's up there. Like,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Not me, man. I'll be like, I'm not gonna do this. Let's go, Yoshi. Next one.
So I had a question. So Yoshi, how often do you go to expos, and then with your goals and kind of where you're at right now, what do you usually like try to look for? Like, what do you usually try to achieve at these expos?
So the podcast does a sponsorship with Repticon reptile shows, and they usually have me go out at least once a month to a show. So 1 to 2 times a month I'm at a show. When it's a Repticon show, the main objective is getting a solid episode and being able to talk to some of the vendors that are at that show to give some promotion to Repticon, because they're putting a lot of initiatives right now to try to improve the quality, but most importantly, the experience of the shows for both the vendors and the attendees. And people always have something to say about these local shows that happen very often. But I've had very good conversations with the actual owner of Repticon, and he's a very great guy. So as far as what I'm expecting from just a show that I'm attending or selling at, the expectation is to try to sell some of these animals. That is the goal. I'm hardly ever looking for anything. I should probably be the kind of person, because I have a diverse ball python collection, I should be looking out for specific ball pythons. I never do. If there's something specific that I'm like, oh, I want that, it's usually a turtle. Like I just bought, I'm not gonna say the exact species, but I bought over 20 mud turtles within the last month, just because I like turtles, and now that I'm settling into this house that I bought, my big thing is to get back heavy into turtles. That's always been my passion.
When I got your logo and I saw the turtles, I was like, man, this guy must love turtles, because I was thinking in my head. But I was gonna ask you too. I was like, why turtles? But Like what's another thing you should do is make the turtles Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh yeah.
There you go. So, the originally when I started working with reptiles, I only had turtles and tortoises. And the name of the company that I was working on with my friend Marco, we were called Half Shell Ranch, and we did a couple like Florida shows as Half Shell Ranch, and we were just selling turtles. And the goal was to do conservation specifically for turtles. We didn't really know how to do it. I was a year, 2 years into this thing. And then because once you start getting into the animal world, you become the quote unquote reptile guy in your group of friends. And there are a couple things within the community that you'll find a lot of, and you'll
Mm.
find that a lot of reptile keepers have done like either extreme sports like skateboarding, bike riding, like Kenan did and stuff like that, or they are somewhat involved in music, Kevin McCurley, Jeremy, stuff like that. So I was involved in music. So my music friends, all like some random people had a reptile here, a reptile there, and they didn't want those reptiles anymore. So they started giving me reptiles. So I ended up with a bunch of ball pythons, got into the ball pythons. And once we got a little bit diversified within those animals, I was like, the name Half Shell Ranch doesn't really fit anymore. So we shortened it to HSR. We abbreviated it to HSR Exotics, and then we started doing our stuff from there. But the problem is that everybody's named something exotics, something reptiles, acronym this, my name that, and I didn't really think that fit well for what it was that we were trying to do. And I was really into what was going on with pop culture at the time, which was a lot of superhero stuff. I'm into Marvel, I'm into DC, I'm into all that stuff. So I was like, that is where modern geek culture was heading at the time. And I was thinking about that being synonymous within the reptile community. And I was like, okay, I'm going to name this company Modern Reptile. So
Well, they call me
things
Big
evolved.
Flexin', so I don't know.
There you go. Let's go.
And my name's Flexin' and Finesse and Reptiles, but yeah, they just call me Big Flexin'.
So
there you go,
Yosh,
Big Flexin', dude.
So Yosh and our friend Eric, they both big turtle guys. They love turtles. Literally, their nicknames are Tortuga and Tortuga Junior.
Yeah.
That's how much they love turtles. I love that they love turtles because it
That's
means
awesome.
that I don't have to keep any of them. I can live vicariously and be like, you guys get the turtles. I've even offered to buy them turtles. They all say no.
Yeah.
Why?
It's like
I would say no.
turtle sponsorship by TINO.
I like big turtles.
No, this is TINO likes very specific turtles. There's a species of turtle. It's the Indian spotted turtle, and I had two. And TINO has offered a bunch of times to like, hey, like, let's get you some babies and we'll raise them. Pretty much one of the big reasons why I don't have those anymore is it's hard to keep them because they're very large. They're big turtles. So I'm like, dude, I cannot have turtles that get this big. You need an actual big pond for that. You can't have your 300-gallon stock tank for them happily.
Working with, and I mean, beautiful animals, like to a point where I'm like, man, should I get a turtle? And it is the Emidura japonica, right? Is that what it's called?
Maremmes.
Maremmes japonica.
Reeves turtles.
Oh my goodness, these things are
no,
gorgeous.
It's Maremmes Reeves eye. I don't even think japonica's in it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're saying me or Eric?
Right, because Maremmes japonica is the Japanese pond turtle.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Let me go ahead and pull up a picture. I know I have one.
Yo, Eric is offended right now in the chat.
He said, "What just came out of your mouth?"
Yeah.
Eric is so mad.
Look, it's Tortuga and Tortuga Junior. What did I say?
Yeah. So I've had the nickname Yoshi pretty much for my whole life. Wait, what is he showing? Hey, there you go. The Reeves turtles. Yeah. So I've had the nickname Yoshi pretty much the majority of my life, but when I was like touring as a musician, a lot of people started calling me Tortuga God for some reason. I wasn't even Tortuga God. I wasn't like a god at these turtle things. But when I moved up here to Central Florida and I met Eric, I dubbed him. I was like, "You are Tortuga Junior. You are my son. We like the same things."
That's awesome, man. David, just calling people out.
I mean, true.
Unhinged, untamed and unhinged, right?
Yeah.
No, he's talking to Eric, I think. So
yeah.
maybe you were on the podcast, you could actually talk.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna go run and grab my charger. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, I know. StreamYard takes a lot of battery power. Sorry, brother.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that.
Give me 1 second. No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, no, Tino's the real one for showing up. So
Yeah, for real. Because I asked him, I asked Chuck. Chuck said he was busy. I don't know what he's doing, but yeah.
They got lots.
And then Eric said he was busy because Chuck sent me all y'all's pages, and then I saw you guys on his podcast. So I was like, you know what? I'm surprised Yoshi, because I bet Yoshi was like, damn, I'm gonna be by myself. And I wanted to feel that way, so I try to make it comfortable, for the guests when they come on.
So sometimes when Yosh is on camera, sometimes it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's like, yo, Yosh, if I was there with you, you would be fucking popping. You're like one of the funniest guys. You're literally so charismatic. And sometimes it's like, I think it's maybe a little bit of nerves, but Yosh is literally the coolest guy. Yosh is literally the coolest guy. If you ever,
He's lying.
no, I'm not.
I was like, whoa.
If you gotta hang out with someone,
chemistry hits different.
Yosh is the guy to hang out with for sure.
Bro, I really do want to get together and like do a podcast in the same room. That'd be dope.
Dude, if you're ever in Florida, we'll have you on 100%.
I have to, because I have so many friends out there. I got like Bosa's Reptiles. I got Villarino, Emilio.
A lot of people are down here.
Now Mad Bio Reptiles. I got you guys now, so it gives me a whole reason to actually go out there.
Yep. You know what? I feel like in the United States, like Florida is like the Australia of the United States. It's like, oh, if you're into reptiles, you have to visit Florida.
That's true.
Yeah, because I actually do want to go out and herp the Everglades. Like, I've never been out there. And Chuck does it like a daily thing. And his videos that he posts, I'm like, dude, that's so awesome. So, like, my neighbor's like, I have a ranch. Why don't you just go out there and herp and list some things? You can see some rattlesnake. I said, but I've already seen rattlesnakes. I see those all the time on live. Like, I don't want to just see rattlesnakes. What the hell? But I do got a question for you guys. This is going to be fun. If you had a worthless superpower, what would it be and why?
What kind of superpower, sir?
A worthless.
I said worthless superpower. Like,
oh.
What would it be?
Let me think. You know what I think is actually worthless? Like communication with animals. Okay, so like, look, when you think about it, right? Communication only, you can't control them, right? So it's not like you can have a swarm of bees do whatever you want, right? It's literally only talking to them. And then when you think about like, if they're not really that intelligent, what really are they going to be saying?
So it's like, rub my belly, give me food,
Exactly, a dog. Or like if you go outside and at night, right? And Yoshi hates frogs, but like you go outside to a pond and you just hear a bunch of different voices, different accents saying, fuck me, pick me, please do me, I'm that guy, like, because that's what the frogs are saying when they ribbit. That's what they're saying. They're trying to get the ladies' attention, and that's what you'd be hearing in English.
Wait, Tino, this reminds me of an episode. Have you seen Rick and Morty? Have you seen the episode where like he heard the squirrels talking and stuff?
Oh, and the squirrels talking, and they
that was really funny.
Yep.
Oh my god, y'all watch that too?
I think if I had to pick one,
do you know the episode I'm talking about?
My favorite episode is Pickle Rick, bro. Pickle Rick.
So yeah, I think if I had a superpower that was worthless, communication with animals, it would just do nothing for me.
Yoshi.
I pick infinite saliva. Next question.
Wait. Why?
How fast is it flowing? How fast?
We don't got enough. Fast enough.
Look at Tino. He's like,
that's so funny.
He said acid pee for me.
Yo, Eric is so funny. If only he was here.
Eric does not want to destroy, or he wants to destroy every single toilet. He just wants to burn them, disappear.
Dude, I would hate to pee and it stinks. This guy's crazy.
Yep.
I mean, how would that even work though? Like, if you think about it, like if you're peeing acid, wouldn't that deteriorate as well?
No, I think maybe it only turns acid when it touches air. So it comes out and then it's acidic.
Yeah.
And we actually have a celebrity
you know how
in the
they
chat.
have those insects, right? Like the bomber beetle and stuff, and then they like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
The
that.
bombardier
Yeah.
beetles. Yep.
Yeah. We have a celebrity in the chat. You see that guy named Tyler? He's
Yeah.
actually a professional soccer player. He's real famous
Yeah.
in an unknown city in Central Florida called Ocoee. He's actually like the king of Ocoee.
He is the
But
king.
yeah,
That's awesome. Nice to meet you.
yeah, he's professional. What did Matt? What
Then
did
he laughs.
I almost called him mad by a reptile. What did Chuck say? Yoshi is my man crush. Get an Airbnb with a group. Oh, I guess for
Oh
what
yeah, I didn't even see
if you
that.
were to come down. Yeah, if you were to come down. Man, that'd be
Yo, she
dope.
smacked man, Chris. Damn,
Yeah.
Yo,
that's
you know what
funny.
we should do? Tina, we should buy a house and rent it out for like Airbnbs for when people come to visit in Florida.
And you know,
I'm
and I
broke.
thought about that too.
That is a good way. And then you know what? Okay, so I wanted to talk to Chuck about this, see what he thinks about it. If he's in the chat, I mean, F it. But with Rupert's Reptiles, you ever heard of this guy?
Negative.
Okay,
Who?
so he's
I
not
bet
the only
if I
guy.
look at it.
Yeah, he's not the only guy that does this. He's a big photographer on Instagram for reptiles specifically, big herper on YouTube. But what he does is he goes ahead and he hosts herp trips. He takes people out to Thailand,
Yes,
to
I follow him.
Vietnam. Okay, yeah, sweet. He has awesome photography.
Premier
Awesome.
League herping.
Who is that?
Rupert's Reptiles.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, I know who he is.
he takes people out to go ahead and do herp trips. I mean, that animal's crazy. That picture's
Yeah,
crazy.
put it in
That's
the comments.
gorgeous.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Hold
so,
on, let me
you know what?
solo you out.
To an extent, I'm kind of like, would it be totally like horrible or unreasonable to go ahead and host like herp trips and be
His
able to do that
photography is
for
really
people that
good
visit?
too.
Yeah,
his
he's
is-
monstrous.
I saw that picture today. That picture is crazy.
Damn,
Dude, it's
that's
so good. I'm gonna
gorgeous.
like it right now. Miscellaneous ugly colubrid Tina.
No, that thing is beautiful. But yeah,
No,
Chuck,
I'm not
like,
gonna.
what
Yeah,
do you think, Chuck?
I'm not gonna
Or-
lie. Like, I think it's a cool idea. I've been seeing a lot of photos like this on Instagram, and I've been telling the guys, I'm like, dude, I think I want to get into like wildlife photography because this is awesome, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
But doesn't Rupert own animals too, though? Reptiles?
I have no idea. I just found him not too long ago. What I learned was that Tino was gatekeeping information from me. He was
Yeah,
gatekeeping
here we
all
go
these
back to gatekeeping again.
photographers. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All these, yeah, because when I found them, I saw that every single person that I found, Tino was following them. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why don't
He
I know
said
about
tons
this?
of people do it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay, so
Finally,
Banna had a question. What's some of your favorite projects for ball python, Yoshi?
Oh, honestly, I'm gonna be real. I'm having a little bit of a battle with ball pythons these days. It's hard. It's just been a little bit hard to stay motivated because of how fast the game is moving. You know, when I first got into it, it was like we were getting. Jeremy actually just talked about it on a live yesterday. We're adding codoms to recessives and just starting to consider adding the second recessive, like that kind of thing was starting to get popular, right? And now it's like quadruple, quintuple recessives with like 6 codoms, and it's super crazy, and it's hard to keep up. And for me, like I do love ball pythons, but we came at it from an investment point of view, and it's just been hard to keep up. I'm at that stage where it's a little bit hard to be motivated in that game. It's a mental thing. Obviously, these are things that you got to work through, and we're in the process here. But if I had to say a single gene animal that I think has a very bright future is puzzle stuff. I really like a lot of the stuff that they're doing with puzzle right now. Yeah.
Oh, my nephew, I call him Little Bowser, because
Hell
my sons in the community, they give them the nicknames. They also have stickers of themselves, so they're called Little Flexin' and Little Finessin'.
Nice.
So I have a Little Flexin' and a Little Finessin', and they made them stickers and everything. I already made them shirts. I sent them out to them. So yeah, so I call my nephew Little Bowser since he has a cicada. He named it Bowser. So,
Love that.
but I think Tino is saying my only thing is this: in state or in country, people are able to share sports posts. So maybe international tours could work.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So
And then
this is like
Chuck says he
thing
just doesn't trust but there are ways to do it.
Yeah, so something that like because we have touched up a little bit on gatekeeping and stuff like that. I think that gatekeeping information about breeding a specific reptile, it kind of sucks because I get that you're trying to make your profit and like be able to capitalize the market. I understand that. But like in this case with Chuck, it's like it's not so much gatekeeping spots, but it's like we if we take somebody out to go herping or something like that, and you take them to a spot, and if you don't really trust the person, that person can go and be like, oh, I can find all those kinds of reptiles there. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna poach those animals and sell them on the market. So like certain things might be good for gatekeeping, like keeping a little, spots like this, like maybe those things shouldn't be shared if it's like some place special to you.
Yeah, it's called tragedy of the commons. That's kind of
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what they call it. So like there's a big one. Well, it's a whole different community, but I've seen some on the internet where there's like abandoned like buildings and stuff, or like certain areas, like certain spots, like and people will post them on the internet and they'll be like, well, this is the place and stuff. And then literally in days it becomes like trash or it becomes like something totally different. And so you have to kind of be careful with certain information because even though it's free and it's public, like if you make it too public, then everyone just abuses it. And so that's the tragedy of the commons because it's not regulated, it's just there, right? So
another big one is Mozambique. So Mozambique, the coast of Mozambique is like the place to be if you're a diver, an aquatic diver, marine biologist, because you see people go across countries, across nations, continents to go ahead and dive with certain animals. Whale sharks is one of the big ones. Manta rays are one of the big ones. Humpback whales are some of the big ones. Like all those things. People pay mad money to do that. The coast of Mozambique has all of them. You can see all of those animals there. And because of that, there's a lot of divers that try to go to these places, a lot of tourists, a lot of wildlife biologists. And because of that, there's a lot of boats. There's a lot of boats on the coast. There's a lot of divers in the water. And it's like, man, everybody's trying to see those animals, trying to get to those spots. And, it sucks because if everybody's trying to do it, it's not really that special anymore, one. And two, they make it worse. They make it worse for everybody else. So that's the only thing. I really wish like more people would go herping, and I really wish I could take more people. It's just that. And even if I trust someone that I'm going with, let's say I don't trust people that they might take there.
Yeah,
I'll be right back, guys. Give me 1 second.
I agree, Tino. Like
Yoshi's taking off his clothes right now. That's why he doesn't want to see.
I agree because like Tino, Yoshi's talking about like bringing listeners or subscribers like to go out herping. And if y'all have a perfect like herping spot, I would just keep that to y'all and then take them herping somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're gonna do something like that because then...
And there are common places. The Everglades is a big one that, not that there isn't remote spots, but for the most part, that place has been explored quite a bit. A lot of people know what the spots are. That might be one that's just kind of simple to look through.
How do we go about inspiring the generation to be like involved with reptiles? How do we go about doing that?
So if Chuck is still in the chat, this is gonna be funny. Chuck really does not like the captive pet industry. I don't know if you had him before. He has pets, but he has very little faith in the reptile industry. I will say that, and I'm gonna do a little bit of an anecdote right now. When I was about 6 years old, I went to SeaWorld and I saw that's so funny, reverse kidnapping.
I was like, what?
I went to SeaWorld and I saw the orca show, and it's from that moment on that I remember being like, man, I watched Zaboomafoo, I watched Jurassic Park, but that was a moment, like what is it called? A core memory for me where I was like, I really want to work with animals. I really want to go ahead and do a lot of either training or husbandry, that kind of thing. I'm like, wow, I really want to do this. You grow up and you start to learn, the things about those animals. You start to learn about SeaWorld or those kinds of institutions. And you start to say, dang, this is really hard. This is really hard. And so I get Chuck's perspective that like it's at the expense of these animals sometimes, or a lot of the times. But at the same time, Yoshi is a big advocate of this. And it's like, if you don't put the animal in front of people, if you don't show them why that animal is amazing, like in the flesh, something that they can see and something that they can touch, it's really hard for them to care about it. It really is.
Yeah.
That's why I think, yes, go ahead and educate, do documentaries, do like remote kind of learning, VR shows, whatever you can, but nothing really compares to putting those animals in front of people. And that's where I think a lot of the captive husbandry could go. And it's like, hey, you are introducing the world to snakes is a big one. Snakes is a huge one because people really demonize and they hate snakes. And so when you put a ball python in their hands, that's like really sweet, doesn't bite, is just active on them and is crawling around. That experience is invaluable, because everything that they've learned about snakes up until that point, they know is wrong, and that's important.
It was a lie.
Important. Yeah, and that's super important. People really need to do that. So in terms of inspiring the young generation, as unfortunate as it is, I think it's just finding a way to put the animals in front of people. Being like, hey,
exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy. There you go. Yep.
Man, that's hard.
But it's hard, especially when you have animals like orcas and elephants and endangered reptiles. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, how do we justify this? To an extent, we almost can't. So sometimes.
Yeah, and you're right, because it is hard, because like you said, whoever's recording how they portray it, they only get like when the orca attacks the trainer, or the snake bites something. It's always something negative, always. That's why it always goes back to negativity. Like, why do people? What I'm trying to figure is like, why do people live for that? Why not? Why don't they go out there and see the good in the animals and just see the animals being defensive? Because he doesn't know what you're gonna do.
Something that I try my best to do at these reptile expos, and I know it's not groundbreaking and new things, but if a kid wants to hold an animal, like, let them hold the animal. I think there's a lot of grumps out there.
Yoshi, you're too pessimistic. That is groundbreaking, because for the little Tinos, the little Erics, the little Tylers, the little Chuckies, that moment is so important.
Yeah.
See, but that's also controversial though, because then what if that kid grabbed another snake, had mites, and gave it to your snake now?
Well, that's why you need to promote proper ways of keeping your animals. Treatments, quarantining, giving them hand sanitizer before they touch the animal. But dude, like you if you're at a reptile expo, you already put yourself in the way for that. So you have to make sure, because even if they don't touch the animal, if I have a mite on my shirt and I pass over your table and I go like this and a gust of wind goes and it goes on your animal, you're gonna have the same situation. That's how all of those things pass. Yeah, you being at that show, you are opening up the door for anything potential. That is just a reality. But like, you shouldn't be, if you're a proper keeper, you shouldn't be afraid of mites like that. If you have a big collection, of course that's scary, but it's not scary because you have mites. It's scary because the amount of work that you're gonna have to put in to remove the mites. The mites can be eradicated if you have proper husbandry, if you have proper technique and proper procedures.
Yep.
So, but the point is that we want to grow the industry. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the way to grow the industry is to ensure a future for it. And the only way to ensure the future for it is to inform and educate the next generation. And that is our way to educate the next generation. It's like similar to what we do in the podcast. We're now like, we're recording outside and we're trying to like, quote unquote, influence people, like, hey, like, go outside today. Like, that is the message there. Go outside today, spend some time, as much as you love your animals, see where they're at in your backyard. See what's similar, like, go and spend some time out there. And it's that we do, what we're trying to do in the industry, and we should also be doing it for the next generation. Be like, hey, enjoy these kinds of things. Like, I was speaking with Paul McIntyre this past weekend at a Repticon. Paul McIntyre is For Real 3Ds, For Real Reptiles. He does venomous stuff, and he just goes to like a lot of these shows. And he was telling me that he was vending at a table with Alvaro from Clover's Reptiles, and a young girl, probably I think he said like 6 or 7 years old, wanted to hold the hognose. Mind you, hognose, rear fang venomous snake. It could be potentially harmful because you don't know what kind of how somebody could react to that kind of bite. And he was telling me, he was like, bro, like, it was insane how this young girl held the baby snake with like care, and she let it run through her hand. And if the snake was getting a little crazy, she put it a little bit on the table, and she was careful with it. And like we don't realize it, but a lot of the time we're already educating these kids, and these kids are a lot smarter today than they were yesterday. So we got to have a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust, because they are going to be the ones to make the rules in the future.
Yeah, no, kids are super smart. I work with kids. I'm a substitute teacher, and sometimes the things they say, I'm surprised they know a lot of things. I sometimes play a game with them. At the end of the day, I'll be like, okay, guys, you have to name an animal, but you can't say the same one twice. And they're just going off and they're saying all this stuff. There's one kid too that I was working with. He loves butterflies, and so he's like swallowtail butterfly, and he like knows all the names of them and stuff. And it's like, wow, like it's inspiring, and you have to give them opportunities to like learn more and engage in those kind of things. So scientific communication, advocating for nature. You know, Yoshi, with your content, going outside and documenting that's all really good stuff.
We're trying.
Oh, go ahead, Tino. I thought you were going to say something, Tino.
I was going to say that, like, that is super important. I agree with Yoshi 100%. You know, the kids nowadays, they're going to be the ones working with those reptiles or with those animals. And if you keep them from it, if you're at a, and it's the thing with like having access to the animals, like, not a lot of people can go to kids' birthday parties or can go to schools and, you know, show off these animals, let people see them, let people touch them and all that stuff. But that's where it needs to be. That's where it needs to be. You guys got to show these people how important these animals are. I know Yosh and Eric are starting to want to go. I think Eric just got his permit, and they want to go ahead and start doing those shows, start having that avenue to go ahead and teach the next generation. And it's super important. Proud of them for that.
Yeah, we had, I mean, this past weekend we were supposed to do 2 birthday parties back to back, but we had to book a reptile show. And I mean, I have a niece that I'm very close with, and when we still lived in Miami, she was 4 years old, you know, spending time with me in the snake room. And you know, she didn't like to get dirty, so she wouldn't want to like hold the animal, but she'd like, Theo, show me that snake, and I'll take out the snake, and she'll look at it, show me that skink, and she used to call them stinks. She show me the stink, so I show her a stink, and you know, she got used to that. And again, with the educating the kids, exposure therapy, she moved up to Orlando before I did, and just those couple of months being away from the animals, by the time that I moved up, she was exposed to the kids in her school, not knowing that or this about animals, and ew, snakes are gross. And by the time that I moved up here, she was scared of the things, you know. So it's exposure therapy, you know.
But I just feel like at this point right now, kids are fearless. Like when it comes to, like my sons, they reach into a tub, like just boop, like they open it, stick their hands in front. And you know how ball pythons are when they're in their tub. They want to strike when they see that. They think it's food.
Yeah.
So my son actually got bit, and he goes, "That didn't hurt." I go, "It felt like a pinch, right?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "I told you." I go, "Their bite doesn't really hurt compared to like people that said dog bites, cat bites."
Yeah.
You know, and you see the pictures and swollen and everything. Their hands like that.
Yeah. For I think several years ago, I was still in Gainesville at this time. There was a shop that I used to work at, and this kid, he's not a kid, like maybe 12 years old. He comes into the shop and he's like, "Hey," at some point, he's been a regular every now and then. He's been wanting a snake. His parents won't let him get one. Yeah, yada yada yada. At some point, he goes up to me. He's like, "You know what? I want to breed snakes at some point. You know, I really want to go ahead, and that's my dream. I want to do it." This kid's 12. Like, the dream's gonna change. That happens. But I was like, I knew he was afraid to get bit. I knew like he was like, "No, I can't get bit. I don't want to. It's too scary." And I was like, "You know what, dude? If you're gonna breed snakes, you gotta learn. You gotta learn it's not that bad." And he's like, "You know what? You're right." So I show him this carpet python, a little baby carpet python, not even a year old, just a tiny little thing. And I was like, "Here, pick it up." And he picks it up. It bites him, and he's like, "Oh, that wasn't that bad." I'm like, "Yeah, right. It's nothing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Something
I mean, it's not awesome you got bit, but I mean, eventually you're gonna get bit.
Yeah.
Everyone gets
something
bit.
that Banna Fields just said. I believe fear of reptiles is taught, The only reason I
Right.
wasn't a snake lover before was because my mom and dad taught me it was snakes bad. So, and that's the thing though, like sometimes it's not even sometimes it's that one instance at 2 years old where your parent got scared because you were playing in the playground and then something wiggled and their own reaction just moved you away quick because they're in defense at the time. It could have been nothing, but that one experience that you might have had when you were, hardly conscious, it instills that thing like the wiggly thing bad.
The thing that makes me the angriest is when a kid is actually braver than their parent and they go ahead and they decide to handle the snake or touch the lizard, and then all of a sudden the parent like scares them from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, no, you just ruined an experience for this kid. You ruined
I
something
was,
for your kid that was important.
yeah, I was terrified of these things. I was not the kid that was putting anoles on his ears. My cousin was. I didn't want to do that. I was scared of snakes. When I would see anoles, I would freak the fuck out. Geckos freak the fuck out. I'm scared of frogs to this day. And for me, it was just like I wanted a pet turtle one day. I got the turtle. I got another turtle. They started breeding, and then little by little, getting into this hobby, I got used to some of the stuff. And now I'm comfortable with a lot of things. But Tino knows I hate getting bit. I will use a hook every opportunity that I can. And I do it proudly because I'm like, I'm not here to impress anybody. I don't give a fuck. Like, you could think that I'm, a bitch, whatever. I don't care, dude. Like, your opinion doesn't matter. But it's little by little, you get used to these kinds of things.
I take
No?
it as it's a step. Like at least you're trying to interact with the animal versus not
Yeah.
at all. Like my little boys would be like, they see a snake in a park. Like we actually saw a little rat snake, and my dad and my little boys were like, "Dad, you want us to go catch it? And we'll take it home." Like, no, that thing is it's in the wild for a reason. It's it's gonna eat whatever it is out here. Just leave it alone. But
the
they were
bravery.
just messing with it, and the little snake, you see it just trying to bite them, just jumping, and they're laughing, playing with it. But that's just my voice. I don't.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
I don't know. I like seeing stuff like that. Those, yeah.
It's important.
Hell
It is
yeah.
important.
But oh shoot, we already hit 2 hours.
Yeah, we did. We're rocking and rolling.
That shit went quick. So I got some questions. If you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would change?
I wouldn't. I would change the ball pythons that I bought. That is what I would do.
That was
You know
my
what?
mistake.
You know what I would do? I think in 2008, instead of being 8 years old and screwing around in third grade, I would definitely have started to buy houses. Definitely would have started real
You're
estate.
so dumb, bro.
For sure.
Oh no, you would have invested in Bitcoin, right? But before,
Yeah.
before
I
it was
would. I don't
What's
know
up,
what
Danny?
I was doing. Freaking learning calculus, or not calculus. Jeez, learning.
Hey, if
You
you
learned
invested,
calculus in fifth grade?
hey, if you
Who in
invested
high
like
school?
7 quarters of your lunch money into Bitcoin, right?
Exactly.
You could
Dude.
probably buy your house now.
Dude, I'd be swimming right now. I'd be swimming in money right now.
So what?
I'd be like,
Okay,
Amazon
so,
stock. That's what I want. Let me get that right now.
bro, so I invested in Tesla. So
There
I
you
got a
go.
stock in Tesla. That's
There you
doing
go.
pretty good for me. I'm not gonna touch it, but it's there. So what's the most exciting part of your journey dealing with reptiles?
The most exciting part of my journey breeding reptiles. I think, I think, I think we're about to be in it. I think we're at the cusp of whatever that's going to be for us. I think that the guys and I have some decent plans, and I just hope that we could continue to grow together. I'm very confident in the four of us and in our future in this. Yeah, it just hasn't. I don't think it's happened yet.
Bet.
I
Just
like
onward
that.
and
You,
upward.
Tino?
For me, most exciting moments in reptiles. I would say close to the beginning. Close to the beginning. It's kind of hard to top what happened to me at the beginning. I know, right? It's all downhill from here now. No, but so I'd always been into animals. I liked reptiles. My first pet was a sulcata tortoise. So always loved reptiles. but it wasn't until college that I started to work with a lot of them. I got into a reptile store, reptile specialty shop in Gainesville, and then day two of being there, they were like, "Hey, we need you to clean the big snake rack," and I was like, "Okay, bet." So I'm there cleaning and stuff, whatever. Um, one of the guys gets in front of me. He picks up one of the snakes. I don't see what it is. And then he goes, "Hey, turn around," right? And I turn around, and a Vietnamese blue beauty rat snake. Yes, I'm a nerd. Adult female launches at my face, and I like, whoa, like a dog out of it. And I'm not used to snakes at this point, but from that moment, I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever. This is so cool." And that because of that, they are my favorite species of snake, and they're also the first species of snake I got. It was an adult female. We had an adult male in the shop, and they bred that year. And I was so excited. I was like, I'm not gonna buy. Like, I had a whole bunch of options. I liked northern pine snakes. I liked the corn snakes. Was never into ball pythons for some reason. Just wasn't my thing. But I was like, I'm gonna wait for this Vietnamese blue rat snake, and
Gray rat snake.
it's gray rat snake. Wow, sad. They say that because mine looks more gray than blue, I guess.
Wait, Tino, the way you're describing this, it sounds like you remember it better than your first kiss over here.
Honestly, it was better. It was better. 100% better.
Tino, I take offense to that because I was your first kiss.
No, you're right. You're right.
Oh,
I don't even
man.
remember. It just wasn't that good.
Damn.
No, but yeah, and then one of that girl's babies, a male baby, it was my first snake. So yeah, I mean, like, yes, it probably wasn't the coolest thing to ever happen to me, but it was definitely something that made a huge impact.
I'm not gonna lie.
Banna Fields. Sorry.
Oh,
what were you saying?
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna answer Banna Fields. Banna Fields. So my wife, when I was in music, she was doing a lot of photography, and she was the one that would take photos of all of our shows, a lot of our promo photos. So we have a lot of equipment here, and it's possible. Maybe I get into photography. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, look, my nephew said I didn't like snakes, but I wanted them. But I wanted. Oh, I won them in a raffle from my dad from my deal, Chris. So I don't know, son. I mean, nephew, are you drinking too much soda or something?
I think maybe is he typing on his phone? Maybe he's just missed.
Talk to text or something.
I know what store he's talking about. So I did a raffle on like 3 ball pythons, and my brother put some money into that, and he won.
Oh,
so they have a snake here, and that's how he got his first snake, was because it was here. And then my other nephew was like, "Dad, I want a snake." They're like, "No, why? Your Theo has a bunch of them in the garage. Just hold them and see them when you come over here."
That's probably what it was. Yeah. Instead of my deal, Chris, it's probably my Theo, Chris.
Yeah, that's my Theo. Yeah. And now I'm trying to get a bearded dragon, so that's how I came to like snakes. Yeah. So he actually. Yeah, that's my nephew.
How old is he?
I will say, don't get a bearded dragon. Get a blue tongue skink. They're better.
So funny.
I think he's an 11-year-old, and I agree with that, nephew. Get a skink. You don't want a bearded dragon. I mean, I have bearded dragons, yes, but they're a lot to maintain. It's a lot to maintain.
He is skinky boy.
Yeah, he loves.
This was an awesome episode, guys. I have to catch one of y'all's lives on Sunday. Will y'all be at Daytona?
Yes, we will be at Daytona for sure.
And my nephew's 13. Whoever asked. All right, let's ask 2 more questions, and then we'll get on out here, guys. I know we already hit that 2-hour mark. It was fun.
Hell yeah!
I like talking with you guys. You guys are amazing. Y'all guys are doing great things.
Yeah. And also, let me know about that episode with Jeremy. I'll make the time.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. So every time I mention an episode, it's funny because then they'll be like, "Hey, let me know when you're doing that. I want to co-host with you on that. If that's cool." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, like, of course. I'm not gonna tell you no. You guys rock." So, all right, 1 more question. 2 more questions.
Let's get some questions.
How do we change the community for better when it comes to working with reptiles?
I think Tino's answer might be different than mine, so I'll let Tino go first.
Okay. I would say, honestly, I'm going to say we already answered it. I think it's basically for people to start caring more about conservation and not just being, kind of complacent with it. Realize that, hey, a lot of bad things happened for you to get the animal that you're working with right now. And it's time to like kind of put back into your local conservation efforts, into your local forestry services, all that stuff. It's like, hey, if you're gonna make profit off of this, go ahead and put some money into it. If you are going ahead and just keeping them as pets, go ahead and post them. Whenever people want to come over, educate them, show them that, hey, this snake is a good thing. It's important to the ecosystem. It's not as bad as everybody says it is. Whatever. Education and conservation. Pushing those two things is how this hobby becomes more than just about money.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd say, not gonna lie, I thought he was gonna say something else. Kind of took the words out of my mouth. No, but no, I think
that's what you'd say anyway, right? It's like
yeah,
you either disagree with them or you agree with them. Take the easy way out.
Yeah, no. So he has a very good point. Look, I haven't been in this long enough to say to. I haven't been in this long enough, I feel, to poo-poo on the people that were before me. But I agree that we need to put effort into conservation. Um, I do believe that it's important to have organizations like USR to, inform us and the stuff that's going on, and to have somebody there to fight this legislation. But just because, my opinion, but just because you're donating to USR doesn't mean you're giving to conservation. Conservation goes further than that, and like something that Tino said earlier in this episode was your local conservation. Do stuff for your community. This reptile world, this reptile industry, it's supposed to be a community. It's as much as we like to be a business, and if you want to make a living out of this, I would like to. That is, you have to run your business the way that you want to, but remember that this was built on community, not industry. The industry was developed through the community. It starts at the community. That's the foundation. So,
to kind of build a little bit what Yosh said is I mentioned the TSA earlier, the Turtle Survival Alliance. In Madagascar, in order to prevent poaching, they will teach the local communities, like the local low-income tribal almost communities, hey, protect these animals. We realize how much money they can really generate, but we're going to educate you guys about these animals, and we're going to have you guys protect them because you guys are literally living in their backyards. Please make sure that whenever you find poachers, whenever you find an opportunity to educate people about these animals, you do the right thing. It's the same thing. In Florida, we have gopher tortoises. If everybody just goes ahead and it's like, hey, I see a gopher tortoise on the road, I'm going to help them across. Sometimes things as simple as that, or planting native wildlife in your lawn, or watching where you step, even cleaning up where you hike. Don't trash where you splash. That's what people say. Like all that stuff builds up, and it's about the community and doing things for the people around you and the animals around you.
But also, I feel like your answer, when you answered that, it opened up this question. I feel like it did to me. So, should we be looking into animals that are going extinct and start breeding projects to help, save that species?
One big example that people bring up is crested geckos, and they say crested geckos are an example of survival from captivity, and it's like, no, because yes, there are more crested geckos than there are probably in the wild right now in captivity. However, none of those animals are going back. So I think to an extent, you're not doing anything really for conservation if you are just breeding the animals. But I think if you're going ahead and using them as opportunities to educate, Garden State Tortoise, Chris Leone and his wife Casey are amazing at that. They're going ahead and working with blanding turtles. They're working with radiated tortoises. They're working with diamondback terrapins. They're working with some really, really endangered animals on the brink of extinction that need a lot of help. But again, they're breeding them. They're in the pet sector. They're going ahead and posting a lot of those things. But the whole time, the message is about education and conservation. Being like, hey guys, this animal is super cool. Look how pretty it is. Look how cool the behaviors are. Look what it eats. All this stuff. But at the end of the day, they need our help. We need to be doing more. So I think to that extent, like, yeah, go ahead and work with a lot of the rarer stuff to bring more attention to them in the wild. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. To piggyback with what Tino just said, I guess if the goal is to avoid the animal going extinct, it's good to have a population in captivity. But again, like, what kind of programs. It's kind of like a balance beam, because is there really programs to reintroduce them in the wild? If they get reintroduced in the wild, will they just die out again because of whatever it is that's going on in that part of the world? Is it going to just take it out again? Are we giving more opportunity for either poachers to come get them, people to take them out, development to kill them again? You know, so regardless, if the goal is to conserve the species, avoiding for it to be extinct, yeah, breed the thing. But then we get into the thing of like, what do you do with those babies? Do other people have different bloodlines? Because then if not, we're inbreeding, and then those animals are not really, in my opinion, viable for re-release anyways. But yeah, I mean, regardless, if we could save an animal, why not?
My nephew said we did a good job, and I said thanks. Everybody
Thanks,
take a bow.
bro.
Yeah.
We did this for you.
Calc raises a good point. When has just attention helped without money? To be honest, sometimes it doesn't. But maybe necessarily the people that you are talking to aren't the ones putting in money, but the ones that they are talking to is putting in money. A big thing is like when Yoshi was talking about, make sure that the areas around that place are also being protected, because if you just go ahead and re-release animals, that isn't necessarily a recipe for anything good. A big example is the electric.
A relationship between individuals and the environment. That's the ecology,
Exactly.
right? So.
A great example is the electric blue day geckos. Like, they are losing habitat, and that's why they're going extinct on top of poaching. So like, even if you go ahead and like counteract it, you go ahead and re-release animals, it's not going to matter if they don't have any more land to live on. You know, same thing with the indigos. If we continue, they have a reintegration programs for indigos. I've volunteered there at the OCIC, but if they don't protect that, if they don't protect those areas that those animals are endemic to, the upland habitats, the xeric habitats, there's no point. You can't put the indigos back where there's concrete. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
So
or even the
fauna
fauna too, like certain food species, like species they eat off of, or even like predators. There's predator interactions too.
Exactly.
Invasive species is another really big one.
I have a response to that money and attention thing. So Chuck says when when has attention helped without without money, whatever. So I don't know Chris Leone and his wife personally. We met them that one time at Animal Con, but I mean, again, I don't know how they're making their money, but being able to post that animal, being able to continue to circulate content, probably provides them a living to continue doing conservation efforts and stuff like that. So if that animal helps them raise awareness, helps them get some kind of money flow, and then they're able to continue to do the conservation work that they did. Maybe it's not direct money towards that animal, but it's still in the macro sense helping out. It's like that micro post in the macro world of conservation. So it's not, these things are not a give and take. Sometimes it's a give, and then it's like, okay, let's see what I can make out of this.
Yeah, even this podcast here, that we get public attention, and then people get together, the community gets interconnected, and so then you get movements like this. So it doesn't even have to be on just the mass, the public mass scale, but also people that are in the hobby, maybe people that are a bit more educated towards the expert level. Attention really just helps bring people together.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I think with I would even go further to say that if you keep animals in general, especially endangered animals, animals that need help, you have a responsibility to either breed them in order to put them into the pet trade to counteract some extent of the poaching that's going on, put them at a good price, put them on the market so that people aren't buying wild caught all the time or practicing poor practices. You have an obligation to at least educate people about that animal. Go ahead and say, hey, this animal's from this area. This area is really struggling. This animal is really struggling, and yeah, maybe the attention isn't enough to save the animal, but it's definitely better than doing nothing. Definitely.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like, I'm like, hell yeah, those are good answers. Like, all of you, even David. David's chiming in. Look at him. He's growing. He's growing. Look at David's blossom on this podcast. No,
David is a smart man.
He is. Highly. That's why I call him my mad scientist. But we're trying to pick a different name. I don't know.
Well, we're brainstorming. That's the name so far.
Yeah.
So, do y'all feel like y'all made an impact on the hobby or on anyone in the hobby? Or
Negative
it
one.
could be kids too. It could be kids too outside of the hobby.
Yoshi has put an impact on me for sure.
Or has
Tino
anyone made
continues
an
to put
impact on
impacts
you
on me.
guys?
So I mean, I would say Brian Barczyk, Kenan Harkin. Those are like the two big ones that kind of gave me
Brian
the influence
Bragg,
to do this. Yeah. I don't. Again, the whole imposter syndrome thing. I don't think I've impacted anybody. I'm just trying to have a good time.
But believe it or not, though, you having a good time actually does impact people. You actually live somebody out there that was
Yeah.
having a hard time, or they see your podcast and they're laughing. That actually helps them,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So
Yeah.
you are
Well,
impacting people.
yeah, I appreciate that. I guess that is a goal. Is I want people to tune in when we release on Wednesdays and smile, laugh a little bit, and maybe get a little bit upset with us and have a conversation and all that jazz.
Yeah, I think Yosh put it correctly. I think I don't necessarily have had an impact on many people in the hobby per se. I think a lot of the people in the hobby already mostly like reptiles and amphibians anyway, so not really doing much there. I would hope that with our podcast we have put a lot of people more towards conservation efforts and paying more attention to being outside. But I would say the most impact probably is like people outside the hobby, just trying to either friends, coworkers, even people that just came into the reptile shops that I worked at, just being like, "Hey guys, we're going to work with this animal and we're going to show them that these animals aren't that bad. These animals are good. They're good for us."
Oh, my nephew said you impacted him.
Let's go.
Go.
I'm not gonna
That's
lie to
awesome.
you. I'm so happy that in the beginning of this you told me your nephew was watching this because I tamed it down so much. There were so many jokes that I had throughout this whole episode where I was like, I'm not gonna say anything because there's a kid
Bro,
watching. I
I'm
don't
gonna
want to
tell
be
you
a
what.
negative influence.
He lives with the one, my brother. Oh my god! Like when we come together, it's like you guys on the Reptile podcast. You can ask him; he'll tell you right now. Like he's heard worse.
You guys
So
can't tame the untamed. Come on.
yeah,
I know.
I mean, like yeah, but all right. So my last question is: if you could change one thing in the hobby or community or anything in the world, what would it be and why?
Anything in the world is crazy.
Yeah, I know. That's why I extended that. Yeah, it just used to be anything in the hobby / community, but I mean, it seems like everybody has the same thing to say is the negativity, or like when people snap on new breeders coming in, like or new people trying to come into the hobby. You snap on them for trying to do something they learned. Why don't you just be like, hey, can I help you out with that? Like, why don't you try this?
Yeah, I think it's just be kind. We all know that the biggest influence that this hobby has had is Brian Barczyk, and the couple of times that I got to be in his presence, it was smiles. Even when he was battling, it was appreciation. It was being present with you, even with all the shit that's going on with him. And it's like, if that man going through all the shit that he was going through can hold himself with such candor, like there's no excuse why you cannot be a kind human being and respect your neighbor. So it's just that, just be kind and understand that we're all human beings, and we all have something to offer at no matter what stage we are in this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think Yoshi's right. One of the big things with conservation work is they say you can't have conservation without people. And it's true. At the end of the day, like, yeah, we want to help these animals, but if you don't help the people involved, or if you're not educating them, you're not working with people, you're not working with conservation. Really, you really got to start with people. I think
Agreed.
Yoshi hit the nail on the head. People just got to be a lot more kind to each other. I think stop taking ourselves so seriously and just be like, hey, we're all just trying. We're all just trying. I will say that as much as I like Yoshi's answer, I think Eric's answer is superior. If you want to highlight it real quick, do you see it? There you go. That is the correct answer, my guys.
Well, yeah.
He's not even lying, though.
More money in our pockets, more snake stuff, right?
Yep.
Man, I got like gnats going around right now. It's crazy. We're trying to do
room for you.
vinegar and apple cider, and that shit's still not working.
No.
I don't have good luck with that at all, and it's supposed to be like a vinegar, apple cider, and soap mixture, so that way they stay stuck. Yeah, I don't have good luck with that at all.
I'm not gonna lie, it took out the big ones. Now I got the little ones. I'm like, what the hell? I already cleaned out the rat.
I feel like it just centralizes the problem.
I know soap's supposed to reduce the surface tension so they can't get out of the water or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but their water bowls are stinky because they shit in them. But that's besides the point. But other than that, guys, you have any more questions, David, before we get on out of here?
No, I think it was a pleasure meeting these two reptile enthusiasts.
The pleasure's ours, guys.
Hell yeah, this was fun. We should do it again.
Oh, definitely, dude. But I want to do it with all of you guys. That shit's gonna be funny.
Pause. What do you mean by that? What do you mean you want to do?
Hold up.
Hey, buddy.
I want to do a podcast with you, everybody else.
There was no fucking dinner, and
Oh my God.
I'm ready for this.
I'm sorry. I got excited. I jumped the gun, man.
He's flexing too hard over here.
There we go.
No, but before we go, plug yourselves, and y'all gotta leave a positive message for everybody watching, and then we'll get on out of here. Have a good night.
All right, Tino, you can plug yourself first.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram at constantly__Tino. I haven't said that in a while. In the link in my bio, you guys can see like the Rattlesnake Conservancy link, the Orient Center, Split Oak Forests, that whole initiative. Check them out, read through them, and then also just get online and do your own stuff. Watch the stuff that you're passionate about and try to help out. That's me.
Hell yeah. I am Modern Reptile or Modern Reptile Shop on pretty much every platform that matters.
And a positive message?
A positive message. We did a lot of positivity. My whole thing was be kind.
Yep.
Be kind. Smile to the person next to you. Be nice to the people around you. Fucking. At the end of the day, we're a bunch of nerds playing with animals. Like, it's not that deep. It's not that serious. Like, we gotta have fun. We live this life once.
And we watch anime. That means we're smarter than you guys.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
But if you like this episode, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, follow. Go follow these guys. Definitely go follow them on their podcast, their YouTube channels, Modern Reptiles as well. There's Modern Reptiles podcast, right?
It's Modern Reptile. The podcast is called Reptiles With.
Oh, we're Reptiles With podcast. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Reptiles
With. Yeah.
But yeah, so go out there and just show them some love. I recommend it. These guys are amazing. I can't wait to do another one with them. I had so much fun. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you, Tino, for jumping on. I don't know what happened to Eric and Chuck and everybody else, but I mean,
whack.
You guys are amazing. Whack.
Eric's grandma was here, but he managed to do the whole chat. The whole
chat. That's why David. That's why David was like, yeah, that's why you should jump in the live and not be in the chat.
Yeah.
But I want to drop this real quick.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't show up because I got to meet David, and David is great.
Thank you. For sure. It was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna drop this real quick, and then we're gonna get on out of here. I did drop a shirt. Today. I dropped it on Instagram. It's called Big Flex and Never Give Up. It's like a neon highlight shirt.
Yeah.
Just DM me if you want it. Let me know. On that note, guys, remember to lift each other up. Be nice, because you never know who's around you and who's listening. They may need some kind words. On that note, guys, I love you guys. Have a good night. We out of here.